Reveille, donks.
Look at us now, tip to tip. This is our life. This is our passion. That's the spirit we bring to this show.
I'm Luke Thomas.
I'm Brian Campbell.
This is Morning Kombat.
Oh, yeah, boots on the ground in Las Vegas, MGM Grand. It's Morning Kombat. Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell, on the ground, ready to deliver all things Radio Row interview special ahead of Saturday's PBC on Prime Video pay-per-view, offering two of boxing's biggest superstars above the marquee when Gervonta Tank Davis defends his lightweight title against unbeaten Frank Martin, and of course David Benavidez, who is behind us on the dais, wrapping up his press conference today, will move up to light heavyweight and take on Oleksandr Gvozdyk for an interim title. Luke Thomas, so fired up to be here. Special shout out to our partnerships with DraftKings, with All the Smoke Productions and the launch of All the Smoke Fight. We'll get into that this week, but Luke, you're going to get so many famous names coming in and out of this chair. The fans know how we deliver. How fired up are you?
I'm pretty fired up. So today, let's set the table here. As you can see, the press conference right now for David Benavidez and Oleksandr Gvozdyk is going on behind us. We're going to be joined by both of those gentlemen. We're supposed to be joined by Gervonta Davis, Frank Martin, and really any other kind of luminary that's here. Jim Lampley. I saw Stephen Breadman Edwards kind of floating around out there as well.
James Toney rolling around
James Toney. There he is right there. I can see him. He's headlocking somebody for some reason.
I'm going to ask him about the time Randy Cooter took him down with the ankle pick. All right, there you go.
Pop quiz. What did the crowd shout and chant when he got taken down in that Boston?
I don't remember.
The crowd chanted, this is true, UFC, UFC.
Wow, there we go.
But anyway, we're here in Las Vegas. We're pumped. Biggest star in boxing. Great fight. I love it. Some people are like not really giving Frank Martin a lot of props, which I don't understand.
Watch Gloves Off, the two-part series that Amazon Prime Video put ahead of this fight. That has sold Frank Martin to me as a guy who already knew of his talent, but is mentally wired right, dialed in. Luke, I'm here to make an announcement. Are you ready? Frank Martin's a live dog on Saturday, okay?
Jesus.
Rough. A live freaking dog on Saturday. Let's wake up to that fact, okay?
He could be. I mean, I'll tell you what, he looks to be in absolutely absurd and phenomenal condition.
Body for days, as they say.
First team all body. And prepped, I think, as much as you possibly can be for this opportunity. Yes. I know everyone's kind of sleeping on him because he didn't do that great in the Haratunian fight, which fair enough, but it's like, dude, Tank doesn't fight like Haratunian, so
Also, Haratunian was not there to fight that night, in my opinion, although he'll be fighting Shakur Stevenson coming off that loss.
But I'm just pointing out, styles make fights. I really believe Frank's going to be a credible opponent.
All right, quick housekeeping. If you came here looking for updates on Conor McGregor and UFC 303, we will be live tomorrow, Morning Kombat. I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, 12 p.m. Pacific time.
That's right.
Live from SiriusXM
3 p.m. in the East, 12 noon Pacific time, live Morning Kombat.
We will update you on all things Khamzat Chimaev potentially being injured, Conor 303, what's going on with all that, and then some tall, pale, and handsome. We'll get to that tomorrow. But, Luke, I have to let the fans know, the real hardcore MK fans, right? Tonight, we pay off something a year and a half in the making.
Jesus.
Okay, bet. You remember that little thing we put together last year? Do you remember when Luke lost, when he was out bet by a Team Vibes guy? Well, his penalty is to go to a concert that he doesn't want to be at. That's tonight.
Yes.
Las Vegas, the Sphere, Dead End Company. Shout out to bassist extraordinaire and MK superfan Oteil Burbridge for making this happen. Luke, what is your daytime thoughts? Just a few hours out from the Sphere.
I'm like Clubber Lane. Pain is my only thought. The music sucks and I hate it.
Oh, F you.
But Oteil seems very nice and generous, and I'm curious to meet him. And I'm curious to see the Sphere. I am curious to see the Sphere. But I'm hoping to do enough drugs where I don't remember any of it.
All right. We got more of that coming this weekend. We're going to be filming a lot of stuff from Morning Kombat. But today, right now, is all, of course, about this PBC on Prime Video pay-per-view that's going on this Saturday. MGM Grand Garden Arena, of course. We're going to get to so many big names, and we're going to welcome on our first guest right about now. How about this? 21 years old, the unbeaten middleweight, just recently 21, by the way, the unbeaten middleweight contender, Elijah Garcia, who was supposed to be on the Canelo pay-per-view back in May, got ill, what was that, the day before? You're still going to fight Kyron Davis. We're going to see this fight on Saturday's pay-per-view. Elijah, thank you for joining us.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
That's a cock on your shirt.
That's a gamecock, yes, sir.
Damn right.
Is it the Gamecock? It's illegal, right?
Very illegal. I don't associate none of that.
But
No.
the spirit.
But the spirit of it, yeah.
Exactly. The
That means,
spirit.
all right, let's talk about what happened last time. The fight didn't go down against Kyron Davis. We will see it again Saturday, but from your point of view, I don't think I ever got the full story.
So what happened was fight week, I got a little bit of allergies, you know what I mean? We're from Arizona, so that happens quite often. And
You got the dry heat out there. As Luke
exactly.
Thomas likes
It's
to
kind of like this, but it's a little bit hotter, you know what I mean? And I live on a ranch, so we got lots of dust devils, and, I got lots of plants and stuff like that, so. But, I got a little bit of allergies, I thought it was. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we'd left, and, I felt a little tired. I thought it was just a drive. And, Thursday after the press conference, I just went back to the room. I slept the whole time. And then Friday morning, I wake up to go cut some weight, and I couldn't breathe on the treadmill. You know what I mean? I had the mate, I was a pound off from my weight, but, I couldn't breathe. And so we head over to the emergency room, and they had diagnosed me with some upper respiratory infection, strep throat, and I got some blood blisters on my eardrums. So it was in my best interest not to fight.
Did the commission said you couldn't?
Nah, it was up to me.
Oh,
you know
I
what I mean? It was up to me, and, I chose, if I go in there, I probably wouldn't look the best. I probably could have got hurt. And all that, if I lose, I don't want to have an excuse for it. I felt like it was better just to sit this one out and fight 100%.
Especially at this stage of your career where you can't, no boxer wants to take an L, no boxer wants to make a mistake, but at this young stage of your career, you have to be extra careful, do you not?
Yeah, I feel like if I take a loss, especially Kyron, because he's not ranked, I go to the bottom of the barrel, you know what I mean? And I don't want to do that. I'd rather give Kyron my 100%, and I feel like that's what he deserves.
And how do you feel now?
I feel great. I feel like it's impossible to be 100%, for fight night, but, I'm close to it. So.
Well, look, you've looked spectacular so far in your rise up to this point, but your last fight, we saw it. I was on the Showtime pay-per-view. You took on, what was it, Jose Armando Resendiz? Did I forget that? That's the first name.
I don't know where the accent is. If
it's Resendiz.
Resendiz, and he brought these nuts to the ring. That was a war, and I felt like you, as the young prospect, you were just 20 at the time, you kind of needed to be in one of those. What was it like? How did you feel about your performance, surviving that, getting the victory?
No, that was a great fight. That was great rounds. I'm glad I had it because, it gave me a lot of experience. I think that could help me in the next fight. But Armando Resendiz is very tough, very strong, and he didn't stop throwing punches. You know what I mean? I feel like he was averaging like 100 punches per round, and he landed 28%. And I feel like a lot of people were talking about how my defense ain't too good or this and that, but not a lot of people can throw that many punches per round. You know what I mean? And Kyron Davis, he don't throw as many punches as him, so I think I'll be able to show off my defensive skills and. I don't know, just show the world how talented I am.
All right, you had the better output. You were the rightful winner in that fight. But, were there dark moments in that Resendiz fight where you had to dig in, or was it just no, this is what I do in the sparring, this is what I'm all about?
You had to match the intensity.
Yeah, 100%. We had so the game plan was, to outwork him. We made him work harder than he's used to, you know what I mean? Some rounds he threw 120 punches, Jeez. And we were making him work. He was getting hit. I was getting hit too, but I was hitting him with the cleaner punches, the harder punches, and it was just a matter of time before he fell. I felt like even if he didn't fall, I was ahead on the scorecards, none of that, but I give the fans what they wanted to see.
Could you tell you were hurting him more than he was hurting you?
I felt like he never hurt me. There was a second round where I tripped over his foot, and it might have looked like I got caught, but I did not get caught. I remember laughing actually because I heard the crowd going crazy, but nah, he never hurt me. There was the 8th round when I knocked him out, I was like, damn, this fool's not quitting, you know what I mean? So, I decided to switch up the game plan a little bit, catch and counter, and that's what I, ended up finishing with.
Whenever you see someone there's a tumble or something and then the fighter smiles, you can't, on the TV side, you can't tell if they got hit with something and they're just grinning through it or if nothing happened at all.
So when I dropped Resendiz, he got up, he was laughing, right? I said, what the hell, you know what I mean? So, the only thing is I knew it because, his face was fine, but his body language quit. He couldn't walk, you know what I mean? But to be honest, I don't really jump on somebody unless I know they're hurt 100%, and his body language, that's what I go off of.
All right. So this middleweight division here in Kyron Davis, a very tough out when you consider that he was lauded for the effort he put in last minute against David Benavidez, of course, and also we saw him go fight to a draw against Anthony Durrell earlier in his career, which was a surprise. Going to be a tough test, but this division needs names, man. Middleweight was like one of those glamour divisions for so many years. Does that fire you up more that you're starting to make some noise and it feels like with respect to Janibek that this division kind of needs to face right now?
No, not really, to be honest. You know what I mean? I got to do what I got to do. I'm only 21 years old. You know, I want to get to Chiron, and then, you know, if I can fight for the WBA world title, you know, I just want to take one step at a time. You know, and I feel like getting that world title, I'll be 21 years old, you know, by the end of the year. I want to win it. So I'll be 21 years old. I feel like, you know, that'll put me on the spectrum of, you know, being the face, you know, 160. So.
He's so young. It's ridiculous.
Walk me through the haircut. Is it like a mullet? Is it what do you call this?
You know what I mean? It's like country boy haircut. You know? So that's what I got. That's
you
what I
got
rock.
the Vanilla Ice things going on.
Yeah, the whole thing's working.
eye.
All right, hey,
Listen, yeah, I do. Look at there it is. Right
There's a couple
there.
different ecosystems going on.
We also have a discussion going. How much should a good haircut cost?
To be honest, bro, I pay like $30 for mine, and that's kind of expensive. You know what I mean? I feel
That's
like
what I'm talking about. See, if you come from, I didn't come from the ghetto, but I understood it.
Yeah, no, you don't.
I mean, I came from a rough area. You know, $10 to $12
Being
is a
low
great
class
ass
does not
fade,
mean
all
you
right?
understand
This
that.
guy from DC thinks it's got to be 80 to 100. And they
I'll
come
tell
to
you
your
straight up
house,
like this.
you know?
I grew up. My parents worked hard enough for us to live in a good neighborhood. They'd be poor to not do nothing. You know what I mean? So I always had a jacked up haircut. So it kind of, you know.
Well, if you do well against Davis, you can have the nicest haircuts you want. Very quickly, tell me what are we going to see against Davis on Saturday from you?
I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna fight my fight. I got a point to prove. I feel like, you know, in order to get that world title, I got to look really good. I got to look like I'm ready for the world title. And Chiron Davis is the perfect opponent for me to do that.
There he is, Elijah
wait.
Garcia, ready to burst open in this middleweight division. A pleasure chatting with you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Go
Thank
get
you.
him on
Thanks,
Saturday.
buddy. There he is, Elijah Garcia.
Exciting young fighter
Fun.
the rise, on the way up. We'll see what happens against Chiron Davis, who's coached by Stephen Breadman Edwards.
Hey,
who we hope
we're
to
going
talk
from
to
one
as
young
well.
up-and-coming legend to a
To a Hall of
absolute
Famer.
legend
To
of
a
the game.
legend.
There he is. James, lights out. Tony, it's an honor, sir.
The Hall of Famer himself. And, of course, our fans know UFC veteran James Toney, right? Do we talk about that? Is it okay that we talk about that, James?
No.
How you doing, James?
I'm good. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, these chairs are
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They are. It is what it is. Talk to us about why you're here, what you're fired up for entering that pay-per-view on Saturday, Tank versus
man.
Frank.
I'm here to watch this tremendous fight. Tank
Martin.
Tank versus Martin. I'm excited about both of them. Tank's a great fighter. The fight is not going to go 5 rounds.
5 rounds?
5 rounds.
And it's lights out then.
And lights out, baby, all day.
Okay.
James, where do you call home?
Right now I'm in L.A., but
LA.
Detroit's the number 1 spot, bro. That's my home. That's my real home.
But you're a Michigan guy at heart.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Michigan produces, you could argue, the best fighters out of anybody in the 50
Floyd,
states.
Clarissa,
Hey.
James.
Michigan, we have the greatest fighters factory ever. Me, Tommy Hearns, Joe Louis.
Oh, wow.
You know, Sugar Ray Robinson, the greatest of all time. You know what I'm saying? Period.
Why Michigan? What's going on?
All right, it's in the water.
Well, I was going to say it's in the water, but the Flint headlines are making me
yeah,
nervous about that.
right,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. James.
I'm about you right. I'm sorry.
You went to the Hall of Fame just recently. They had a backup at the Hall of Fame because there were so many COVID classes. But
Yeah.
all the stars got to go in on the same year, and I was so happy to see you a part of that. Look, it's no surprise to me that you're in there. But was that like little boy in you overjoyed that they called you anyway? I mean, what was that experience like?
I got the call. It was on Wednesday afternoon, and a man called me. He was like, "James, what you doing?" I said, "I'm not doing nothing. I'm watching TV." He said, "Guess what?" I said, "No, I don't guess nothing." I said, "What, man? Well, tell me what it is." You're in the Hall of Fame. It's bullshit. And he said, "Come on, for real, you want to class in 2021?" Oh, hell yeah. I got the phone, called moms, called everybody. I mean, it was a tremendous
Okay,
feeling.
I know it being a fan of yours, but if you had explained based on the career you had and the game you had, why are you in the Hall of Fame?
I'm great, period.
That's true.
I did what I had to do. I did everything I had to do to get there.
James, what fight are you most proud of?
I'm going to say Michael Nunn because I was 21 underdog. Nobody gave me opportunity to win. Thought to win.
Oh, and he was legit, James.
I came back and boom, lights out, baby, all day.
Now, James, we're relaxing our thoughts of performance-enhancing drugs in combat sports over the years, and I think eventually we're going to get to a point where it's just part of the fabric. So maybe we should recognize the fact that this guy went all the way up and won a heavyweight title. I know they took it away from him, Luke, but it did happen.
But see, the end, I had a legitimate reason why, but they never released that. They always tell me I was a bad guy. I told them before the fight that I had a bicep tricep tear. And I was taking medicine, but I didn't want the fight to go away because this guy might be welcome somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I took the fight. I reported everything what happened. And after the fight, a couple weeks later, boom, they ain't tested positive for drugs. Now I'm the dope man. So
now he's the dope man, but Roy Jones went up and got lauded for the same thing, going from middleweight all the way up to heavyweight.
The thing is, well, before I came into boxing, I was 205. But then when I wanted to be a heavyweight, everybody came up and told me I was too small to be a heavyweight. I'm serious. So then I went down in weight. They said, how much would y'all want me to lose? They said, keep on going, we'll tell you when to stop. When I got to 157, I started dry heaving. Couldn't raise the weight. I said, I ain't doing it no more. This is the most I'm going now. I stayed at middleweight. I stayed there for 2 years. I had to go up. I did that. So it just kept on going back to my regular weight. Everybody think it was steroids.
Yeah.
I don't take steroids. I always lift weights. Always.
Well, you kept that hand speed at every weight that you were at. You always had that boxing.
The slickness.
You know, that slickness.
And plus, if I was doing steroids, as bad as I looked at night against John Reeves,
sure,
that's some bad shit.
A bad batch.
Yeah.
I got to know, James. Oleksandr Usyk, Terrence Crawford, Naoya Inoue. Who's the best boxer in the world right now?
Terrence Crawford.
Tell me why.
Because he fights just like James Toney.
There you go.
He does have that backbone, that spirit that he brings.
He got that dog in him.
Terrence got dog, man. Look at where's Earl Spencer now. He's still looking at his wounds.
He was here yesterday.
Earl Spence?
Yeah. He's promoting though. He's promoting Frank Martin.
He should be.
Yeah.
He want to get back. But you know, hey, he's a good fighter. Still, he has to come back.
Man, when you asked him about his favorite fight, there's so many you could have named. That cruiserweight title fight against Jirov.
Easy work.
Wow. Do you remember
That was a hell of a fight.
So it's one of the greatest calls in boxing history when Emmanuel Stewart, R.I.P., is just like, oh, my God. When you go back and you watch that, like, that made that moment. It was incredible. Obviously, you made the moment by dropping Jirov, but the reinventions you had throughout your career were incredible. Did you just not stop believing each time?
Man, I never stopped believing in myself because I know, still to this day, if I fought today, these guys can't see me. I'm serious. Because the one, they don't have the fortitude that I have. They wasn't born with it. The difference between me and everybody today, I was born to fight. They was taught to fight. That's a bad way. You know what I'm saying? Because today's boxing teachers, trainers today, they don't know nothing about boxing.
They don't have the same slickness that you had.
No. Nobody does, but Terrence Crawford.
Although the Japanese guy, Naoya Inoue, is pretty good.
Oh, I'm sorry, he's a good fighter.
Yeah, he's pretty tough.
All right, so when you hear Canelo Alvarez not really caring about fighting that man on the poster, David Benavidez.
He's scared.
Yeah, but, like, you're a fighter, so you can talk that ish. I can't. But, like, are you disappointed to hear that?
I'm very disappointed because that shows you, lets me know right there, your boy's a coward.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn.
Strong words,
You can
James.
say it. You can say it. Say it. Say it.
My boy's a coward. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
But you know what? That's a bad man right there. He's all right, and he's all right.
All right, well, this
That's
is
a
bad
Hall of
man.
Famer
This
right
is a Hall
there.
of Famer. James Toney.
And I'm a Hall of Famer, baby. Hall of Fame,
I
James.
couldn't have appreciated this more. Thank you
man.
for the
Appreciate
time.
you.
God bless you.
James, it's an
Likewise.
honor. Thank you so much, my friend.
man.
All right.
The Hall of
There he
Famer,
is.
lights out, James Toney. UFC veteran, indeed.
That's right.
Hey, the hits are just going to keep on coming here, Luke, in terms of the big
It's going to be
guests,
one of those
all
days, BC.
It's good, just one of them days.
I can't
Don't
believe
take
you
it
made
personal.
the Flint water joke.
See, the
that
thing about me is, and you put a live mic in front of me, you never know what's going to happen. You never know if you're going to lose your
I'm
job
waiting
at
to
the
hear
end.
the 9/11
Okay,
jokes
okay,
there.
that's
Happy 9/11, everybody.
While I do have questions about Building 7, that is way, way too far. Let's welcome in another
Hey, this is one of my favorite
fantastic
guys in the sport
guest,
right
one
here.
of the best trainers in all of boxing today. They call him Breadman, Stephen Edwards. You'll be in the corner of Kyron Davis this Saturday, but good Lord, do we love his work with J-Rock, with Caleb Plant, and so many others, and you're a broadcasting partner a few
Yeah,
times.
Philadelphia's finest right here.
Here we go. Breadman, great to see you. How's everything?
Everything's great.
Nice to see you.
Little jet lag, but you know.
Yeah, how's your kids' basketball career going?
Everything's good. Everything's good. They have a big track meet this week, so I'm gonna miss that. They run in the Olympic qualifiers at Millersville University.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
So that's gonna be
I hope
tough.
you make it home for Father's Day. We're all in this battle this weekend.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. I get back maybe 6 o'clock Sunday, so you know, part of the game.
Hey, man, how are you feeling about the – you know what? I'm kind of I'm annoyed at how much people are discounting Frank Martin. I do favor Tank to win. Don't misunderstand me. But I feel like for a guy who got to the sport relatively late, don't you feel like he's a pretty good fighter?
I think he's more than pretty good.
All right, tell me what you see.
I think that well, Tank deserves to be the favorite, you know, but I think that a lot of times offensively dynamic fighters, you know, when they face like good all-around fighters on video, the offensively dynamic fighter is more aesthetically pleasing, but the all-around fighter can neutralize a lot of things that they do. So you look at a lot of big matchups like Holyfield, the all-around fighter. Tyson is the offensively dynamic fighter. Everybody looks and says Tyson's going to kill him. Then they get in the ring, it don't work out like that. You know, Winky Wright, Shane Mosley.
Twice. Yeah.
Vernon Forrest, Shane Mosley.
Twice. Yeah.
Bernard Hopkins, Tito Trinidad. You know, so Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. So the guy who's scoring the more highlight reel knockouts, he gets a little bit more credit because his stuff is more aesthetically pleasing. But a lot of times the guy can neutralize him when he has that all-around game. Andre Ward, Kovalev. It happens more times than we realize. So if Frank Martin has a layer to his game that we haven't seen and he could neutralize some of Tank's counterpunching, I think the fight could be much more competitive than anybody believes.
I'm shocked it was like 7-1.
I know,
Davis
it's
is the
huge.
favorite to
It's
start
huge.
it. Or
It's
no, it was
huge.
bet up to that recently.
Yeah, it's huge. I think it's because of Martin's last performance. It wasn't the best performance. The guy kind of outboxed him a little bit, and he had to like come back and kind of he needed the knockdown, in my opinion.
In the 12th, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
and the guy took a knee, but he showed the clutch gene. He showed grit. And I was really impressed with his performance versus Michel Rivera. He fought the perfect fight. And in the 50-50 fight, you usually don't see that. I don't think he lost a round in that fight. He was on fire that fight. And I just think that people we always judge by what we see first. But the guy with the all-around game, a lot of times they come through in these kind of fights. So I expect a more competitive fight than what people believe.
I love that, and the depth to that analysis, and I think you're right on. I don't know this, so I want to ask you this. What was the depth of your fighting career? Amateurs? Did you go pro?
Just in the gym. Just in the gym, just boxing, getting punching on people.
Who was the first guy you coached?
Julian Williams.
And how'd that happen?
I just knew him, and he came to a fight party that I had, Floyd Mayweather versus Ricky Hatton.
Oh, wow.
And he was telling me, like, I'm fighting in the Golden Gloves, and, you know, and I started following his career. And then he was about to turn. He lost to Earl Spence in the USA Championships in 2009. And then he needed some help turning pro, and he came to me in 2010, and then the rest is history.
Man.
Wow. I have to throw out a guess that when J-Rock shocked all of us and decoded Jarrett Swift Hurd to win those world titles, that's got to be a big moment in your journey, too.
Oh, man, it's a big day. I probably didn't sleep for 2 days after that fight.
In hostile territory, too.
Yeah, we caught the train down to D.C., and I never forget, everybody laughed at us. We were about to get on the bus to go over to the arena, and Julian was eating like I think it was maybe a peanut butter and banana sandwich, just carving up a little bit, just minding his business, and a couple of Jarrett Hurds friends or family, they walk by and they start laughing and saying, man, you're going to get knocked out. We're going to have a party. And we just looked at him and just smiled. And I said, okay, we'll see.
So I
Got the last laugh
I
on
hosted
that one.
Fox interview show to preview that fight, the face-off, and I remember J-Rock just being like next level, like you guys don't know what I'm hiding inside of here.
Yeah, he was.
And it was great to see it come together.
You know what, man? That camp, you know, it was so perfect that, you know, like Julian can't even live up to another camp that good. I'm telling you, this is no bullshit. He won every single round in sparring that camp. I write every round down. I count the rounds that we spar. He was on fire the whole entire camp. Either you was getting knocked out or beat up. Everything. It was just, he was just so like, he was mad at me because I agreed to the fight in Jared Holmes' hometown. But I said, listen, I got this. The pressure's on him, not on you. We not gonna get this fight if we don't take this. Shut your mouth and train. So he's a little bit like pissed off, like they're gonna rob me when I go out there. But what it did was it lit a fire up under him where he fought so well that they couldn't rob him. Because that wasn't no 7-5 fight. You know what I mean? It wasn't no 7-5 fight because he won 115, 112 with a knockdown. That wasn't a 7-5 fight. But I said, listen, sometimes this is how it has to be. You know, and he listened to me. You know, sometimes fighters is hard-headed. Sometimes they don't listen. But for that particular fight, he listened to me because he thought he was being set up. And I'm like, look, you're going to win the fight. You can't worry about the politics of boxing when you're coming in on the B side. You got to be a fighter. You can't think like a businessman. And he was on fire that camp. It like get me emotional talking about it because the biggest dilemma I had in that camp was about 3 weeks before the fight. I'm like, God damn, how much better can he get? We need to fight. Damn. You know, he's already peaked out. That's how good he was in that camp. It
was
was
the inside baseball gold that you live for.
All right, I'm going to name 4 names. I want you to rank them for me at 175. Ready? Beterbiev, Bivol, Benavidez, Morrell.
Beterbiev 1. Benavidez 2.
Oh, wow, okay.
Bivol 3, Morrell 4.
Wow.
Do we just not know how good Morrell could be? I mean, obviously we're comparing him to 2 potential Hall of Famers.
Listen, he got a shot at beating all of them, but we don't, you know, we just don't know enough about him.
Yeah.
But I think Beterbev's the boss, and I think that Benavidez. I probably underrate Bivol. He's a terrific boxer, but I just think that Benavidez and Beterbev will probably overwhelm him. And I could be wrong. You know, I've been wrong about Bivol before. He's the boxer out of the 4 guys. Sure. But can't nobody take Beterbev's punches, man. Nah. It seemed like he just got bricks in his gloves. Every time you watch him on video, he hits you like in a little sweet spot with a little right hand behind your ear, and you just lose it. And just like somebody's stuck an electric shock in you, man.
You ever seen his forearm training?
Yeah, I mean, he's
it's
like
insane.
A freak. I know his trainer's not – John Scully, one of his trainers, he's not even a big strength and conditioning guy, but he let him do his work because it works for him. He's a freak. He's a very – and he fought at 201 as an amateur. He knocked down Usyk in one of the fights that I seen between them and the amateurs. So that's not a little guy fighting at 175.
Man, I don't mean to present all your flowers to you here, but can you get a podcast going, or can we get you full time?
You have a column. You still do the column.
Yeah, I do it. Listen, you know, I was just talking about a podcast. I'm not the most computer savvy guy, so I gotta one of y'all gotta help me. I can do all the talking and the research, but somebody got to help me put it together, and I'll be sure.
Okay, we got to get him on this show more often.
I like making money, man. It's you know, I'm definitely down. I get asked all the time, but I just got to have somebody with the multimedia background.
Your son can't school you up?
Man, my son, all he likes is video games and basketball.
Oh, yeah. That's the choice of that generation.
Yeah, he's 12 years old, man. He just plays basketball all day or video games with his little buddies.
All right, Kyron Davis, who you're training, and he'll be taking on the prospect we talked to, Elijah Garcia. We were supposed to see at the Canelo fight, the illness. Now we're back. We're doing it again. Kyron has made his bones for showing people that that dog is in there, that the chin is there. What he did against Benavidez late notice, that fight against Darrell where he put his name on the map. What is in there? Have we seen the best of him yet? Is he still kind of figuring it out under your tutelage?
You're going to see what's under the hood Saturday night. He's a guy that's really underrated. For whatever reason, the powers that be, you know, he just didn't get matched the way other guys have. He just didn't get noticed. Karan could fight. He's much better than his record. His power is much better than 6 knockouts. He was a match really tough. It's for some reason, some guys, they just kind of fall through the cracks. But he was 91-9 as an amateur and won national championships 3 times. So, you know, they think this 21-year-old kid is just going to come in here and just, it's like it's going to be some kind of coronation or some kind of like party. It's not going to be like that. I'm just telling you, it's not. It's not going to be like that. Karan is going to put on a show Saturday night.
What would you say is his best offensive skill? What should we be looking out for? I know you don't want to give away the game plan, but give us a direction to look.
His ability to kind of change the personality of a fight. One minute he could be playing counterpuncher, then the next minute he could just step right to you and get busy. He's very, very physically strong, and I'm telling you, he punches a lot harder than it looks. You guys are going to see. When you're watching the fight, I want y'all to see if Elijah Garcia is so gung-ho at walking him down the way he do everybody else. Look for that. Once Karan crack him, I guarantee you that all of the bravado, and he going to start boxing and going to start thinking of other things to do because he's not going to want to walk into that fire. Mark that down and make sure you make note of that once he gets hit and feels that, he's going to be like, God damn. Karan take punches from 168, 175-pound men.
Yeah.
He just has like a weird kind of durability. He just does, you know. And I'm telling you, the David Benavidez fight only got stopped because he wasn't in shape. And I wasn't just going to let him just take that punishment because he already saved the show. So I'm like, forget it, because he wasn't in shape. He didn't have the legs. That had nothing to do with durability. He was eating them shots. Like, he was like coming back to the corner like, he don't punch like that. And I'm like, yeah, but you taking too many of them.
Well, I'm curious, when we talked to Elijah Garcia about this, his last fight against Ray Sendiz, who's a tough out, really forced him to get into a brawl on this level and kind of will his way through that. Do you look at his performance in that fight as a positive, or do you see some red flags?
I think Elijah Garcia is a real good fighter. He's very talented offensively, but that kid get hit a lot. And I think that people don't want to acknowledge that because he's supposed to be the next best thing. He get hit with the kitchen sink. You can hit him with whatever you want to hit him with. He just don't have good defensive reflexes. You know, and I know y'all seen it. That kid hitting with...
He acknowledged it when he sat down. He goes, I know people will say my defense isn't all that great. He said it.
Yeah, it's not. Let's just be honest. He just don't have the reflexes for it. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I'm not criticizing them, but he gets hit a lot. I mean, Karan is going to light him up. I'm just telling you. It's just... He gonna get lit up Saturday night.
I can't wait. I'm so looking forward to this fight.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't really thinking about that fight much, and we just kind of stirred it up, and now I'm like, damn, this is now must see. All right, I've got to get your take as well on this co-main event. What I love when we were telling the story about the J-Rock upset of Swift is what J-Rock proved we don't do enough of in boxing is let people take a loss and learn from it and grow. Gvozdyk's got one defeat, but man, was it a monstrous one when Beterbiev, the boss.
It was in Philly. They fought in Philly, unification fight in Philly.
And he not only knocked him out late, he retired him. And there was the brain bleed scare that appears to be cleared up, and we've seen Gvozdyk come back with 3 straight wins. So while the question seems to be in this fight is what does Benavidez look at 175, how dangerous or difficult do you actually expect Gvozdyk to be against that pressure?
Gvozdyk is a hell of a fighter. I just think that it's Benavidez's time. Gvozdyk took off 3 years. I don't know if you could take off 3 years and come back the same if you're not special. He did take off 3 years after the loss to Benavidez. I think that he may have had some injuries, but I also think it was a confidence thing. He got undressed in that fight late down the stretch. He got like broken a little bit. And I think he had to get himself together. And they had a spar. They sparred before, and Benavidez really got out on him. You know, like that's just known. Like everybody talks about that. Benavidez beat up him and Bivol in sparring. You know, I'm not like spilling any news that nobody knows. Like everybody talks about that. So he's going to be really confident in this fight. People say sparring doesn't mean anything. Sparring doesn't mean everything, but it does have some kind of bearing on what will happen in a real fight. It doesn't mean everything, but it has something to do with what will happen in a real fight. And he dominated them in sparring. You know what I mean? So, you know, it will be hard for me to believe a guy could dominate another guy and beat him up, and then the guy could beat him in a real fight. So, in my opinion, I think that the sparring, Benavidez is his age and how hot he is right now, and the other guy being older, taking off 3 years after a knockout loss, I just think that the stars are lining up for Benavidez to win this fight by late stoppage in a real good fight.
Damn, I don't want to keep you here in and hoard all your great analysis, but I do want to ask a Caleb Plant question before we let you go.
Yeah, dude, by the way, pound for pound, one of the best Twitter follows
Oh,
that there
my God.
is.
I have so much respect for Caleb Plant as a fighter because of that dog and the way he handles himself, and he's not afraid to go all in like he did with the Benavidez website. That was one of the great builds of recent memory in terms of that.
Caleb's crazy, man.
You see him now talking a lot of junk with the guy that Canelo wants to fight,
Edgar
Berlanga.
Berlanga.
What do you want in the future for Caleb Plant? And I love this pairing between the two.
He hasn't fought since last March, so I want him to fight. You know, I don't play the role of who he fights. I play the role in I got to fight. Let's go to camp. So I just want to I just want to fight. You know, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm hearing all of these dates, but nothing has been solidified yet. So we got to see. But I just want the kid to fight. As far as him and Berlanga, I don't care if they fight or not. You know, that's up to Caleb and PBC or whoever handles that. Whoever he tell me I got to get him ready for, I'm going to get him ready for. You know, just the same way it was Benavidez when everybody thought he was ducking him. That wasn't no duck. He said, I'm fighting Benavidez. I said, okay, well, let's start camp. Get my plane ticket and get my car and get my condo ready, and I'm out there. It wasn't no, oh, my God, it wasn't like that. So with Berlanga, if he fought David Benavidez and Canelo, he definitely don't care about fighting Edgar Berlanga, you know. So, but I think Berlanga might get the Canelo fight or another big fight. Berlanga has smart handlers, I'll say that. So they know who to fight and who not to fight.
Fat Joe is one of them. Apparently.
Yeah, I don't know, but Caleb's a bad matchup for him, man. Caleb's such a
Don't
bad
say
match.
that too loud. We want to get the
Yeah,
fight.
seriously. I got to ask you a tough question because the dog and Caleb seemed determined to go the distance against Benavidez, but there probably was a point where you're like, man, you don't need to take this. But also you want to see, can he rally late? Is that tough? How tough is that spot to be in, man?
You know what? I got somebody called me one time and said, why didn't I stop the fight? And I thought about it for a second, but I was talking to him, and he was very clear. And I saw David get a little tired. He got a little tired. Not as tired as Caleb, but he got a little tired because we were squeezing him, you know, and keep breaking out in them clinches. It wears you down. We did that on purpose. So Caleb, you know, David got a little tired. And I talked to Caleb about that going into the fight. I was very frank with him, and I told him you could have gave more against Canelo. There's more inside of there, and you're going to have to go there with this kid. This kid he's going to be coming. In the second half of the fight, it's not going to be about skill. It's going to be about what you got in here and your determination. You got to refuse to be stopped. Do not allow him to stop you. We talked about that. I was very frank with him, and I told him he's going to try to break you late in the fight. I knew Caleb would outbox him early, but I knew the hurricane was going to come, the snowball was going to roll, and at that point, it's about will. And he looked at me in my eye. He said, I got you, coach. I got you. And during the fight, I said, you all right? I said, man, you got to show me something. He said, I'm all right. I'm okay. What round is it? And I told him what the round it was, and I just seen a look in his eye, and he refused to be stopped. And if you look at that 12th round, he rallied.
Yeah.
He rallied.
He's a dog.
He was hurt. Caleb had golf ball sized knots on the back of his head. I'm not accusing David of being a dirty fighter. Both of them was fighting dirty. Caleb hit him in his nuts. David hit him in his back of the head. They were both fighting dirty. But he had golf balls on the back of his head, man. He was cut, and he just, man, what he showed me that night, man, the win, that's fine. But, man, he just, I knew that he was, like, embarrassed. I knew that he knew he could do more against Canelo. I knew it was more inside of him, and I challenged him, and I said, do not allow yourself to be stopped when that moment comes. You got to fight through it. You got to show will. You got to show determination. You got to show resistance to the other guy that you're not going to submit to his will. And even though he lost the fight, he didn't submit to David, and that was very, very important to me. So when they talk about a guy like Edgar Berlanga, man, I hope he get to fight Edgar Berlanga. I do. I swear. I hope he do.
How good is this right now? Look at this, Brett. Brett, I can't keep you here. Yeah. We've got a big list coming. Thank you for the time, for the analysis.
Always good to catch up, man.
Stephen Breadman Edwards coming to a extended series show, podcast, broadcast near you. Wow, I thought the peak moment today was James Toney calling Canelo a bitch. Turns out everything Brett just said was awesome.
I called 2 broadcasts with him. And I felt like I learned more in those 2 broadcasts than I have in 4 years with you.
Those little behind the scenes, well, that's definitely true. Those little behind the scenes nuggets of like what went on.
By the way, for folks who don't know, this is the guy for that J-Rock fight you were talking about for Jarrett Hurd. Jarrett Hurd is a guy who clinches a lot in boxing.
Yes.
They hired Eddie Alvarez to help get J-Rock ready for that fight. So Breadman knows Eddie, and they worked with him.
Yeah, wow, I'm fired up for this card, and I'm fired up for our partners, and let's get right into it, Luke. You know that we We've had a nice run here with DraftKings, man. I'm
sure
telling
have.
you about
I mean,
that.
you want to talk about partners?
Yeah, if you don't have the
Partners.
DraftKings Sportsbook app, I mean, download it today. And when we're talking about this weekend and this fantastic double bill here, actually a pretty deep pay-per-view card altogether, now would be the time to really go after it, Luke.
Yeah,
really
go ahead and
this happen.
download that DraftKings Sportsbook app.
Yeah.
It's in either the Android or the Apple Store. And what do the new customers get, BC?
This is a great setup here. For new customers right now, just bet $5 on anything this Saturday. You want Tank versus Frank? $5 on the line and instantly receive $150 in bonus
There you
bets.
go.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know what else kind of a deal you're looking for. If you're a new customer, DraftKings has odds. By the way, not just like straight up, hey, who's going to win, Frank
Sure.
or Tank, all kinds of parlays, all different kinds of different ways in which you could make, your bets go even further.
And you can stay in on the action there with that $150. How about some same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout? I would have parlayed the Celtics last night in Game 3. What a biatch Luka's turning into. Conversation for another day, but a couple good stats coming out of DraftKings here, Luke. Tank Davis, very popular amongst DraftKings customers. Top 10 in most boxers all-time on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Wow.
By handle and bets. 7th all-time in handle, 3rd all-time in bets. And for this fight, Tank has 80% of the handle and 93% of the bets on the money line. So people like Tank. He's been bet up to about a 7-1 favorite I've seen. But Luke, Tank to win by KO, TKO, or DQ, that's the most bet of any bet on DraftKings Sportsbook around this fight. Does that surprise you? 46% of handle and bets on the market.
I feel like it's always a pretty good bet to bet on Tank Davis by K. Now, of course, in the Isak Cruz fight, no, not always. But in
that was last
general,
minute, and Cruz has a chin on him.
and he's
but
tough as shit. Yeah,
I feel like watching the gloves off, there's going to be a knockout in this because these guys are wired to absolutely bring it. Frank Martin, Tank Davis. Tank has a chip on his shoulder, dude, big time. But let's close off with DraftKings here. Reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use our code, by the way.
MK.
MK, and a $5 bet this weekend will get you $150 of bonus bets. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, DraftKings is still your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy, where you can join in all the fun and play for cash prizes. So you already know it. MK is the code. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook app because the crown is yours. And Luke, some would say that we are like the kings of combat sports media. I mean, I think
I don't think they say that.
they should. Though,
They should
right?
say that, but
Hey,
they
shout
don't.
out, by the way, to our great team here. Manich,
Yeah.
Manich in the house. Okay.
Manich is here.
We got Brick back on camera. You know they gave him that nickname in the joint.
Yep, Cement is here.
Yes. Yeah. Also, Seth on sound, right?
Yes.
Paige got me my shake, but I also have some secret juice here. Look, you hate when I consume this. It's not Paulo Costa's PEDs, but it is a cocktail
Do you remember
of
the
AG1.
homeless guy who was played by Damon Wayans and In Living Color, and he
Yeah.
always showed up with the glass jar full of like floating feces? That's what that is.
Wow, yeah, that tastes fantastic. So here we go. Look, the Sphere tonight. I mean, Dead and Company, right? Wow, John Mayer, Bob Weir, O'Teal.
I've never wanted to overdose more on drugs than I do tonight.
Oh wow, there you go. Big names to continue on this Radio Row interview special that we got going on Morning Combat. We're going to hear from the main eventers, the co-mains, and so much more. Wow, James Toney got a little bit. I can't get over it. It was great. It was
little
peak
strong.
TV.
It's a little
right
strong.
there, right? It really was. Luke, we are going to be live Friday, as we mentioned, 12 p.m. Pacific time. That's tomorrow afternoon
3
for a
p.m. in the
live
East.
episode of Morning Combat from the SiriusXM studios at the Wynn. I can't wait for the fights on Saturday night. Anything else I'm supposed to talk
Are we
about?
going to shit talk the people who walk past us at the Wynn tomorrow?
I would hope so. Yes. So should the donks line up outside there?
No, please don't.
Okay. Looks like I'm not doing pictures,
Please don't.
autographs, or.
Did I tell you what
or
happened to me
anything.
on the flight? I did tell you what happened to me on the flight.
Did you S your pants?
No.
Okay.
Oh, they got Gary.
Oh,
Antuanne.
wow.
Oh, I need to get my my.
should. You really
my,
should.
My thing ready for him.
Your,
my
so
this or that game. I
The
have ready.
unbeaten 140-pound rising future title holder. That's what
Anyway,
I'm feeling like. Gary Antuanne Russell is lingering.
So yesterday, American Airlines was like, for $97 you can upgrade to first class.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, I'll take that bet. That's fine. I'll do that. And so I got a nice first class seat, and I had headphones on, and some guy came by, and he was like talking to me, but I couldn't hear. So then I pulled the headphones
Dude,
off.
you can't hear shit with those headphones because I've been in the train station screaming at you from
Yeah.
like a foot away, trying to inject you with
Yeah.
New York Penn
noise
influenza.
cancellation, ladies and gentlemen. It's real. Anyway, so he was like, can I take a picture with you? I was like, oh, yeah, sure. He was Bella Meir, that's Frank Meir's daughter,
Yes.
her wrestling coach.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's so random.
Yes.
Did she make her MMA debut yet?
No, but she won a national title at the University of Iowa. She's a D1 national champion.
Wow. All right. Our next guest has arrived, Luke, and when you're looking
Prince
at
George's County's finest.
let me talk about this. What's the fun division in this sport right now? 140 pounds. How about this rising, unbeaten contender who seems ready to take the step to the title level? Gary, Antuanne, Russell, everyone you touch doesn't finish the fight. What is it, 19 up, 19 down up to this point for you?
Yeah. No, it's actually 18. But
18. I'm giving you
It
one
might
extra.
be 19 come Saturday.
you're right about that. Yeah, you can say that again.
How you doing, Gary?
I'm lovely. I'm glad to be here. You know, this is like my home right here. This atmosphere alone, it just makes me feel at home.
I was going to
you know?
say, I saw everyone's grand arrival, and I saw yours, and the smile on your face was maybe bigger than anybody else's. It looks like you're glad to be back. We haven't seen you since the Victor Postol fight, right?
Yes. And I had a lot of mental things that I had to deal with, you know, the father passing.
Sure.
Just getting used to him just not being in the gym, you know, acclimating to my older brothers that's now the head coach.
Gary Russell Jr. is now
Gary
your
Russell
full-time
Jr.
head coach?
And Gary Allen Russell is the chief, the co-pilot, you know. But it's nothing like the father.
Sure.
You know, it's like me outside looking in. It's like we was all still learning.
Yeah.
We was all still building. There's no cap to learning, you know. So for me to have that understanding, it's like, dang, Junior, he's still learning. Allen, he's still learning. But now I got to look at them as the master because I got to continuously put myself in a position of a student still if I want to grow. And that alone is just bring a lot of vulnerability, you know. So
Well, if I had to say, you know, what was your dad's boxing legacy that left behind, it's his sons that are still doing such great things. What are you hoping to carry on as you move forward? And God, you got a big fight on Saturday in your dad's spirit. Are there those lingering voices still in your head that you hear all the time?
Definitely. I want to honor all of the time that we done put into this as far as collectively as a family, all the hard work, the tears, the blood, the sweat. I don't want that to go in vain. So this is somewhat of my dedication, my willing, and what I do it for now at this point.
Was it hard for your brother to, I mean, how hard was it for your brother to move into that kind of overseer role?
I feel like, honestly, he's still settling in.
Yeah.
I told him myself, I said, I know you're junior, you're the oldest of all of us, but you got some big shoes to fill.
Sure, no kidding.
Your mindset, your mentality, it was set on being the oldest and you being that mantelpiece that we can all learn from as far as being a boxer, an athlete, a student. But you as a son, you now got to take role of our father, and you got to show us and give us that tutelage.
Sure is.
Indeed. Speaking of it,
Look
we
at
have the
this.
full
Like,
family
you know,
affair.
popped out of
Gary
nowhere.
Russell Jr.,
Got the belt and everything.
the trainer of his brother Gary Antuanne. Wow, that's one of those flavorful belts that the WCC BC
Hey,
is putting out.
BC,
The Freedom Belt
there's three guys from the D.C. area here, and then one Jamoke.
from Connecticut. Do I
There you
stick
go.
out like a sore thumb?
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right, everybody in your family is named Gary, which I always thought was awesome. What do you guys call each other then?
So it's funny. Me and my dad was the only one that went by Gary.
Okay.
Everyone else goes by their middle name.
So you're Antoine?
I'm Antoine.
And then it's Allen, Antonio, Derek, Isaiah.
Yeah.
But when we out in public together, for those who don't know this, they say Gary, and we all just like.
That is true.
Talk to us about this belt.
Man, it was so funny, man. They tricked me. They got me good. They surprised me with this. The Freedom Belt, Mauricio and the WBC, they surprised me with this. They wanted to award me, the family, and my dad.
It's beautiful.
You know, I thought that it was a great gesture.
Oh, it's the Juneteenth belt.
It's the Juneteenth belt, man.
Wow.
And what makes it even more wonderful, you know, I was the longest reigning champion in the sport, and it's like, God damn it.
That's incredible,
You
man.
know,
Congratulations.
I greatly appreciate it, man. They caught me off guard with this one. I wasn't expecting that.
We were just talking about like how hard it has been to transition now that your father is not to run the gym, but
Yeah.
specifically for you, what have you? How hard was it for you to settle into that role?
To be honest with you, it wasn't really hard. Throughout my entire career, I was always hand in hand with my father, with working with my younger brothers, training them and etc. It's so crazy because to the younger generation, you know, have you seen the movie, what's that movie, Black Panther?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. In that movie, the very first one, when he went to go visit his ancestors and he seen his dad, he told his father, he said, I'm not ready to be without you. And his father said, have I ever failed you? He said, no. And he said, a father who has failed this child without being with him is a father who's failed. And my father didn't fail. There's no way, shape, or form. I believe that the younger generation need to pay attention, do less of this and more listening, you know, because at some point in time we're going to get cut off from the access of resources, that information, you know, whether it's your mom, your dad, your uncle or mentor, or, you know, even just a big homie, you know. So we got to pay attention and listen. I think that's what makes that right there, it helped me out a lot. Yeah, I'm glad that I was a daddy's baby.
That's a very mature and thoughtful way of answering that. Man.
Yeah.
I could tell it's been a process.
Yeah, it's definitely been a process. But I'm grateful that I've been open-minded enough. You know, I had someone like my father to really properly train us and maneuver us and show us, because it's a jungle out here.
Well, it can be a jungle in the gym. So, Antoine, I want to ask you, when you guys grow up with all these potential future pro boxers and your dad running it, did the brothers spar? Is that because, you know, some families are like, no, we don't go that route. But the sharpening iron potential of that, what was that like growing up?
We haven't sparred each other a lot, you know, but we definitely still sharpen our tools with each other.
Yeah.
And my father, he was a mad scientist, so he would do stuff to really irk me. So when we did spar, he would make us do our entire workout. I'll probably do shadow boxing, mid work, bad work, everything else. Soon I think I'm done, he like, keep your gloves on. Antuanne, glove up. Y'all about to spar your brother. Oh,
right. We got to double team him.
They're coming there and double team me.
That's amazing. All right, you're from PG County, right? Capitol Heights, Maryland.
Yep.
Okay, I'm from D.C.
I'm originally from Washington, D.C. We migrated to Capitol Heights.
Okay, so I want to play a little game with you guys called This or That. This is going to be very easy. Let's play it with your brother here since he's got the big fight. All you got to do is rapid fire answer either which one I give you. All right?
Okay.
All right, so give me a second. Let me pull this up.
It's going to be like a boxer's briefs type of thing?
No. Yeah, kind of, but like not awful.
Okay.
Not awful.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let me get this up here. Sorry, they wouldn't let me have my computer, so I had to pull this up over. Here we go. All right, ready?
I'm ready.
You got to just give me a rapid answer. Capitals or Wizards? Quickly. Capitals. Okay. Gilbert Arenas, John Wall. Which one?
John.
Half smoke or jumbo slice?
Half smoke.
Ooh.
What are we talking? Fish here? What are we talking?
U Street or Navy
No,
Yard?
Daddy. U Street.
Red line or green line? Metro.
Red.
National Harbor or the Wharf?
Wharf.
University of Maryland or Georgetown?
Georgetown.
Fat Trail or Shy Glizzy?
Fair trail.
Very good answer.
There you go. There you
All right,
go.
and then last but not least, rapid fire. Who's the best boxer ever from Washington, D.C.?
Ooh. My brother.
Yeah! There it is.
Gang.
Well, speaking of the great Gary Russell Jr.
Hold on, I got a bone to pick.
pick.
I got a bone to pick with you. So I saw you. You won't remember this. I remember this.
Oh shit.
I saw you and I spoke to you right before Tank Davis fought Hector Garcia back in D.C.
I do remember that.
And I was like, when are you going to fight? Do you remember what you told me?
What did I say?
Summer came and went. I didn't see it.
Hey, listen, man. I had to get my brother situated. I had to.
It's
You
not
know,
all
you gotta
his fault.
prioritize.
It's not all his fault.
So what happened? Are we gonna see you back this year?
Oh yeah. We plan on trying to do something this year. Like I said, I want to get my younger brother situated. I gotta prioritize. I still train, of course, while I'm working with him, so we can do it somewhat simultaneously. But my main objective is getting him situated. I know this is a big event. This is a big night. I personally feel as though this is his coming out party.
Why is that?
I think this is the fight that's going to plateau him to that next level. I believe that this fight, after this fight right here, he will be able to really get one of these titles. Now you really can become one of these world champions.
Well, this division is so hot fire right now. Do you feel that same way, that this is your moment to announce yourself if people hadn't been paying attention?
I do. I do. You know, after this fight, I will be able to call out a potential Devin Haney, you know, who has the WBC title right now, or a Sandor Martin, or vice versa, you know, or I can just go out there, Isaac Cruz or anybody else who has a Teofimo, and you even got the Matias.
Sure.
You know,
he's got to fight Saturday.
He's fighting this weekend, yeah.
Well,
and honestly, Matias was the only guy that I can think of that actually even mentioned fighting my younger brother. He mentioned fighting you, I must say about a couple months ago.
Yep.
In fairness to him, he seems to want the smoke.
Oh yeah.
Matias
I mean,
does.
and that's what the sport of boxing needs.
Yeah.
That's a fighter.
Yeah.
That's a fighter.
Guys
you know,
getting after it.
There you go. That's a fighter. You know, that's what I believe a real fighter does. You know, they want to test themselves to be the best that they can be. I want to test myself against the best guys. You know.
All right, Antoine, your run of late through very established names, Victor Postal, on and on, has really announced you. Have you been close yet, you thinking, to showing, you know, we talk about this about the main event where Tank's coach says, I want Frank Martin to press that button because I want to see the very best of him. How close have we been to seeing that very best of you where you feel like you've been pushed legitimately?
well, that depends on the opponent that's in front of me. You know, I was always told, don't take out your arsenal, which you don't really need to take out. If you go to a place and you're trying to build something, you're not going to use a hammer for a job that a screwdriver is required for. You know, so I think this opponent right now that's in front of me is going to require me to take out more of my arsenal out of my bag than usual.
Can't wait
I can't
to
wait.
see it.
I can't wait.
Saturday.
Oh, hold on. Before we go, main event prediction, how does it go?
I mean, of course, I'll go with Gervonta.
Yeah, stoppage or?
I'm not sure. I've watched Martin fight maybe once. I seen that he couldn't take it real good downstairs in the fight. One of the fights that I seen, he was getting hurt to the body. So
That's tough against Gervonta.
Yeah,
Same for you?
I don't know.
I'm going with Gervonta too, you know, because he can pack a pop from round 1 all the way to round 12.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you're getting great and you're on a professional level, it's about you getting the same results but using less energy.
There you go.
You know, I think Tank Davis right now, he's starting to get the gist of how to do that. You know, he don't have to throw a lot of combinations anymore. He's lowering his opponent in with the intelligence and his IQ to the point where he can just shoot 1 or 2 punches and get the fight over with. You know, of course, Frank Martin, he does have good defensive discipline, but to my knowing, I see him to have more of a Europeanish style, like straight up and down textbook. You know, keep his hands high. He shoot a jab up, shoot a jab down. He shoot his left cross. He got the right hook, and here and there he'll touch the body. But it's really no swag, no panache to it. You know, I think Tank Davis, he got more panache. He got more swag and showmanship with how he moves and carry himself in the ring. And that's going to honestly be a big thing and a big factor for Tank Davis as far as this fight goes.
Could be a big weekend for the DMV, okay?
Could be.
Could be. By the way,
That's right.
Lomachenko could still get it. He could still
That's
get it.
right. And you already
Unfinished
know.
business. Unfinished
Already
business. All
know.
right, there it is.
You already
So
know.
much Gary Russell here. Antoine, best of luck this Saturday. Great
Nice to see
getting
you
a
again.
chance to meet you. And Gary Jr. as well. Always a fan. Thank you so
Always.
much.
Can't wait,
gentlemen.
gentlemen. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Pleasure.
We appreciate it.
All right, our interview special on Radio Row
Go ahead, it's okay,
continues
yeah.
and rolls on as we let the Russells exit the stage. Jim Lampley walking around in a white coat. I think we're going to see him soon, okay?
I did see
Very
him earlier.
stylish here.
I
Okay?
see Dan Rayfield over there.
Dan Rayfield in the house, all right. Fight freaks are uniting, apparently. Yes, here we go. All right. Well, how about the Russell family? That was awesome.
That was great.
I know we're on.
I've never been to their gym. I got to stop by their gym.
I think we may have to make a visit in there. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what they use? I wanted to ask him about it. We ran out of time. That for a what do you call that piece that goes against to
Enswell.
Enswell? They use a full. Have you seen this? Have you seen
No.
Gary uses it for his brother too. A full face mask. It looks like a. Yeah, there we go. It looks
bring him
like
on up.
Oh, the nail is here. How about this? The former world champion representing the Ukraine, Oleksandr. How do I want to say this right? Because everyone's mispronouncing his name.
Help us pronounce your
I would
last
say
name.
Oleksandr Gvozdyk.
I would say satisfaction.
Satisfactory, he says, as he gets the headset on. Of course, the former world champion's back at it, fresh off of 2023, where he returned, scored a trio of victories. Hey, we called one of those, by the way, okay?
Yeah. Hey, so pronounce your last name for us.
Gvozdyk.
Gvozdyk.
You're doing better.
All right.
Great to see you back at this level, back in the sport, and back hunting the interim world title, the WBC, which will be at stake. But this fight's getting a lot of extra attention because of the big name across from you as well, David Benavidez. How do you scout him? What do you think of him as a fighter? Because every sort of ceiling we sort of put in front of him, he just shatters it and keeps moving forward.
Well, I know I'm, I think, 5-1 underdog, and I know their plans to move up and conquer a new division, but I hope I'll be the party pooper.
Hell yeah, right?
When you came back from the sport, obviously you've had 3 wins in a row now. How did you know you were ready to come back?
I don't know, just make the decision, you know, and I went to Spark Canela. I think I showed good resistance, and I decided, why not? I still have it, and perfect.
And you
We'll
feel
just
good?
make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
How difficult was it to sit out 3.5 years? Did you feel like you were done for good?
It wasn't difficult at all. You know, like when I decided to retire, it was a COVID. It was kind of future was dark, and then I started looking for the new opportunities, business opportunities, and basically I was 100% into it. So I didn't even miss boxing much, you know. But then the war started, the show came back, and I was thinking, well, as long as I still have it, why not to come back?
With the war starting, what relationship does that have to your career? Like, did it make you want to come back and?
First of all, it was shock.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know what was it. It was fear, disappointment, feel of betrayal, or just like feel like somebody backstabbed me or something like that. But then I just decided the life is going on. Obviously, all my business ventures, they were related to Ukraine. They were all completely buried. And in the same time, as I mentioned, Canela invited me to help him fight Bivol, and I went there. And again, like first couple days, it was super hard. But then I kind of start getting my rhythm, getting back, and perfect, you know.
Where does most of your family live in Ukraine?
Just my father.
Just your father.
Yes.
And he lives in like a.
He lives in Kharkiv. It's like 20 miles from front line.
Wow.
From Russia, basically.
Wow.
Well, you come through that decorated Ukrainian amateur system, and we've seen such huge victories of late.
Incredible.
Oleksandr Usyk, big comeback win for Lomachenko. Who's the guy that won a world title?
Baranchik.
Yeah, Baranchik. Obviously, you have a chance to continue that, but I don't want to talk about now. I want to talk about back then. Did all of you guys as young kids dream of this and know for a fact that one day we'll always see each other as world champions, as professionals? Was it always a matter of fact you knew it?
It was kind of dreams, right? Yeah, we're kind of contemplating. Oh, can you imagine like 10 years later something gonna happen, something like that? And now all those thoughts came true. You know, that's crazy. We basically recently before Baranchik and then with Usyk, we met here in LA and remember those like cool vibes, just cool. You know.
What did you think about
life? Is amazing.
What did you think about Usyk's performance against Fury?
It just enormously good. It just amazing, you know. What can I say?
Was it the 7th round that he hurt him?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that 7th round is one of the great rounds I've ever seen.
I think it's 8th, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever it was, yeah.
Did you know that was possible?
Yeah, of course. Because I know Usyk, this guy can jump over the head. You know, if he motivated and he's always motivated. And how come you cannot be motivated in such big fight for the undisputed heavyweight? It's the most prestigious division. Yeah, of course. This guy, listen, if he gonna be motivated, he can just fly like Neo in Matrix.
Sure. I gotta ask you a question. Saudi Arabia is taking a big interest in the sport, and Turki Al-Sheikh says publicly, I want to take Benavidez, I want to move him to 175, and I want to have him fight the winner of Bivol Beterbiev. Well, but you're in the way.
I'm just said it in the first question.
Yeah.
What I want to be to this fight.
So you want to be that party pooper, but do you feel disrespected at all, or is this just?
No, it's normal. Listen, I think I'm underdog 1-5, but this is just release me from pressure. I don't have any responsibilities in this fight. I just in my best shape. Nothing pressuring me. I just have to go there and do my job.
What's the most difficult part about fighting a guy like David Benavidez?
Listen, you have to be your 100%, even more than that, because again, what can I say? I'm fighting one of the best, and I have to be the best. I have to be even better.
But is it like angles, movement, constantly
Angles,
turning?
movement, defense, footwork, jab, combinations. I can slips, weaves,
All right,
feints.
we're interested in your opinion. In October, we will see the Undisputed Championship in this division. You know Artur Beterbiev's game well, facing another unbeaten future Hall of Famer in Dmitry Bivol. Who wins? Because that's a great fight. I'm not really sure I have a pick yet, though. I'm still kind of juggling it. What do you think?
I'm also very intrigued because, like, back in the days when I was fighting Beterbiev 2019, I think Beterbiev would just run him over. And I also gave the prediction of the potential fight. Back in the days was just potential that I don't see any chance for Bivol. But right now, again, the time flies. The Beterbiev getting older. It's already been like 6 years since I fought Beterbiev. Sure. Bivol getting stronger and stronger. You see that the way he's developing. And Beterbiev, I don't know, he still doesn't really show much of the fade, but he getting injured. He takes a breaks. But they very, very professional. I think that Beterbiev wouldn't take the fight if he wouldn't be sure that he's gonna make it. So, which makes this fight very intriguing for me. So I'm not gonna pick the winners 50-50.
Okay, so if you beat David Benavidez on Saturday, do you believe you are in line for the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol?
Well, I hope so. That being interim world champions makes me a mandatory challenger, right? So.
Do you have a preference of who you want to fight?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, how much of it is you're just on your own journey and whoever's there is there, and how much of it is I would like to get that one back?
Yeah, I have preference to fight for the fight. We're going to be IBF, WBA, WBC, and WBO belt. Yeah. That's
so
my preference.
As long as the 4 belts are there,
the belts
he's
are there,
fine.
he's there, he's good to go.
The nail, Oleksandr Gvozdyk. Congratulations on getting back to this point. But you're not just a name on that poster. You got a real shot at handing David Benavidez his first loss on Saturday. Great chatting with you. We wish you best of luck in this
That's
mission.
what I believe in. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Great
nice
English, by the way.
Yeah, really
Wonderful
good.
English.
Thank you.
All right. Shout out to the former champion, could be the new interim WBC champion on Saturday, Oleksandr Gvozdyk. As we continue our Radio Row special. Thank you so much, sir. Luke, great stuff from everyone, man.
Yeah,
I mean, the Russells talking about the connection with their father through, James Toney calling Canelo a bitch.
I mean, it's a lot.
Was that what he said?
It was, yes.
Was
and then he made you say it.
He did make me say it. That was good.
And I've seen Benavidez because there's like a giant crowd of people around him. And someone just vaped.
Somebody on Team Benavidez just letting that
out. He's still vaping.
Yeah. Vapors are for closers. I've heard that before.
There's someone just openly vaping over there.
Yes, on Team Benavidez in the house.
Fucking awesome.
Love it right there. Luke, let's reset a little bit here.
Okay.
Shout out to DraftKings, our partner in this, but also, Luke, you can see the banner over your shoulder there. Morning Kombat. Representing and being presented by All the Smoke Fight. You may have seen the press releases earlier this week. The new Combat Sports vertical, which has some of the old people from the Showtime Boxing days and the old social handles.
That's right.
From the Showtime Sports and Showtime Boxing
YouTube
days.
as well.
But in a lot of ways, if you're an MK fan watching it, that formally combines us with the great team going on all over there at All the Smoke Productions, from Brian Daly to Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, the hosts of All the Smoke. We just had the kickoff of Steven Jackson's Fight Towns episode that was in Miami with David Benavidez, Roy Jones Jr. What can we say here about our future matching fists here with ATSF, All the Smoke Fight?
I just think it's going to be one of the next big premier brands in the sport. You've got people like me and BC who are part of it, who we're idiots, but we're on the ground all the time. We're trying to be connected to the sport, and we're going to give you the best that we've got anytime that we're doing this. And then on top of it, we're going to be adding big names, people who are absolute institutions in the fight game, some of the most celebrated fighters you've ever seen, boxing and MMA. We're building something great over here, I think.
So you're going to see the return of Morning Kombat's Room Service Diaries, the return of Fight Towns that I mentioned. You're going to be seeing continued crossover from the likes of Stack 5 himself, Steven Jackson, who will be with us tomorrow on our live Morning Kombat episode from the SiriusXM studios at the Wynn. But we're going to be doing more crossover stuff with him, which always a great boxing mind to mix with. I mean, he's taken to that sport quick, but if you noticed, he's now seemingly training on, like, I don't want to say full time, but like he's taking seriously, not just for the Fight Towns role, but he's taking the boxing lifestyle on Stack 5. He could probably handle it better than me at age 45.
He's a former pro athlete.
He's getting in there and getting dirty.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got I would say this. I mean, he's just got a real love for the game. Real love for the game, and it shows up in a lot of different ways.
So we're excited to be part of this new combat sports vertical that will continue to be the cutting edge, be the voice of reason in the combat space.
I want to interview the guy who was vaping. That's what I want.
That's Luke's next request. I saw Jim Gray walking around. I saw Stephen Espinoza. Right, no shortage of big names here as we continue on from the MGM Grand Garden. Well, we're not next to the arena. We are in the media room here at the MGM
Studios
Grand.
A and B.
The Grand Garden Arena will play host to Saturday, of course. Prime Video pay-per-view. PBC is back, and it's Tank. I always want to call Frank Martin Frank the Tank because I call everybody Frank the Tank because of that movie, right?
Now, which one was that? Old School, yes.
With Will Ferrell, but
yes.
He's fighting Tank. Let's talk about this quick as we're going to have more guests coming in very quickly. But Luke, your phone's blowing up here. Let's see.
It's my wife.
Is it a woman?
It's my wife.
It's the only woman it would be, Luke. Okay.
My dog is sick.
I'm sorry to hear that. This is Barbas?
Yeah, she had to rush him to the vet.
Barbas is a girl?
Barbas is a boy.
Yeah. Oh,
my dog had to rush the dog to the vet right before we went on the air. So.
All right, I opened this show. Shout out to your family. I hope Barbas is going to be okay.
I hope so too. Yeah.
I said off the top that Frank is live. I did watch the Gloves Off special.
I was so glad. I'm so fucking glad that Breadman said what he said,
how eloquent
because I have
that?
been listening to a lot of boxing podcasts, and listen, I don't know shit about boxing, and I'm perfectly willing to admit it. But it is so annoying to listen to people who are like longtime boxing fans, who are jaded, jaundiced MFers, who anytime there is a celebrated figure, and yes, Frank Martin is the B-side. And yes, BC, I also favor Tank to win. I think Tank's going to win. But I think Tank's going to have at least some tough rounds on his hands, and maybe overall a tough fight, because Frank Martin is a good fighter. He's a well-rounded, athletic, skillful guy. I don't think that's enough to beat Tank, but I certainly think it's enough to make it interesting.
I think it even goes further than that. I mean, this is the longest layoff of Tank's career by far. This is 14 months, and I know that's emboldening him in a certain way. We've seen that by his behavior, like purposely missing fighter arrivals, all those deleted tweets, and we're seeing him kind of want the smoke, if you will. Where am I looking? Right here. Let me get professional for a second. Against every single person that comes across, whether it's Errol Spence on the dais the other day, dude, they were like exchanging real barbs. So I know
lots of N-words.
Lots of N-words. I know Tank is motivated, and just maybe that is the best bet still, Tank by knockout, because I do think it's going to be an explosive fight. But what I got from Gloves Off and what I got from this press conference this week on Wednesday, we can argue, I think successfully, that Tank won the first press conference in May a month ago during Canelo weekend. I thought Tank won that. I thought he made Frank look not quite ready for prime time. But Frank's performance, for whatever it's worth to you, in the Gloves Off show, and then the confidence he showed, I know Tank made him flinch, but he flinched back with a punch. Okay, I'm just saying.
What is that supposed to even mean?
You're seeing Tank Davis go all in on almost bullying Frank. On almost like Ray Flores couldn't even talk because Tank's behind his back just sending barbs left and right. But I thought Frank fielded it well. I thought he stood up for himself well. And I do think his body of work, what are you going to hold against him for the Artunian fight? He didn't get him out of there. The guy didn't want to fight, didn't want to be in there. What I've seen from Frank fills the gap of what is the biggest. If we ask boxing experts to say, what do you really think about Tank Davis? What would be the biggest criticism? Some people think he still hasn't fought anybody. I don't think that's fair when he moved up to 140.
He has avoided the tougher fights in his division.
Right. He moved up to 140 to fight a bigger fighter in Barrios. He knocked out Ryan Garcia, who's hot right now. I mean, he's done some big things at different weight classes. The Spider Pedraza win for his first title.
That was 8 years ago, though.
But this opponent kind of fills in the question of people got mad when he moved down in weight and fought Leo Santa Cruz. He's fighting a guy his own size, a little bit taller than him, bigger than him, in his weight class, who has elite speed, comes from a great coaching tree there with Derek James and the access to sparring with Ryan Garcia, Errol Spence Jr., Jermel Charlo in camp that he gets. Despite coming to the sport late, yes, which typically is a giant red flag. It's rare when we get the Deontay Wilders, the Sergio Martinezes who can come to the sport at 18, 19 years old and end up going to like the Hall of Fame level. But did you see what they highlighted, the athlete that he was on the football field, amateur wrestling? Like, this guy is a peak premier elite athlete. But the question is, does he have the mental capacity to be in a gnarly fight like this and come out on top. I think he showed us this week that he does. So, Luke, that doesn't suddenly make me want to go, yeah, Frank Martin by upset. That lets me know this is going to be a real-ass fight, Luke. This is going to be a real fight where I don't think Frank is going to get mentally overwhelmed by the moment or the threat of Tank's power. I think that Calvin Ford is right, what he said at Wednesday's final press conference. He said, Frank, I want you to bring it. I want you to absolutely be as dangerous as you can be. Press those buttons because my guy has yet to need to show that. Luke, do you agree with that? That Tank Davis has yet to show even close to what he's capable of? Because I do think Frank Martin's the guy that can press that button that Calvin Ford is saying. Then we're going to see real combustion, real fireworks there, Luke.
I mean, there's definitely been fights that were way too easy for him. The first Showtime fight that I covered was the Ricardo Nunez fight. That was way too easy. And there were some other fights I thought he had to kind of dig out and make it work. But the problem is, here's the reality about Tank Davis. He has such an off switch with his left hand that he can kind of take rounds off, can kind of like not box that much, and then wait to put it on you whenever he's ready for it, typically middle to late rounds, ice the whole thing, and then he can go. So I actually feel like a similar kind of thing is going to happen here. The question is how much and how long Frank Martin can keep him at bay. That's kind of what I'm looking at. And I think he will.
Okay,
actually.
But do you agree with what I'm saying, that if the criticism is fight one of the best guys or fight someone your own size?
Okay, but he's got to fight Shakur. He's got to fight Devin.
But would you agree that Frank embodies sort of everything we want? A guy his own size, undefeated, yet to be exposed.
Yes, except for one thing. Leonard Ellerby yesterday, and Leonard should join us here later.
Yo, Leonard's just slinging bars on anyone that's...
Leonard doesn't give a fuck. I mean, I love Leonard. But what he said was, this guy, Frank Martin, got started boxing in 2017. In 2017, Gervonta Davis was already a world champion. Dude, that matters. I'll never forget Daniel Cormier making a point about Ronda Rousey, making a point about himself. People who were lifelong athletes at an elite level. So they didn't just hey, I picked up MMA or boxing at 22. No. I've been in elite amateur systems since single digits or early double digits, and have continued that tradition the whole way. These are different kinds of athletes. I think Frank Martin is an excellent athlete. I want to be very clear. I think he is going to – that comprehensiveness is going to give Gervonta problems. But it would just be, I think, a little bit – as much as I love Frank Martin and this is about what he can do, I also want to be fair to Tank and say Tank's been doing this at a much higher level for much longer, and that's what Frank has to overcome.
That's a fair point. We got a guest coming in a second, but before we get there, I got to ask your opinion on what I mentioned before. Spence and Tank kind of going at it. That was next level trash talk. Spence is N-word, 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 which lets you know it's serious.
Yes.
I might get up off this chair if you don't stop running your mouth.
Yes. I was surprised that it got so acrimonious, and both guys weren't backing down from it either. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, by the way, O'Teal watching this live, texting us about the James Toney interview. Classic stuff. Loved it right there. See that guy on the Dude, I can't wait for a little Althea tonight. I mean, do you have any songs that you're shouting out for? I mean, come on.
I Come Blood?
they don't cover that. I don't think they do that either. I hope not. Well, all right, let's bring him on. Is it time? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, we love talking to this guy, right? We used to be employed by him. Now we just like him as a dude. It's Steven Espinoza, the former president of Showtime
I'll say, Steven,
Sports.
life was a lot simpler for me when we were your employees, I have to tell you.
It was simpler for me, too.
I think it's in your life contract that you have to sit down with us ahead of each PBC pay-per-view.
No, I'm just so flattered because you're no longer obligated to, treat me respectfully or anything.
We just like to be around you, apparently. Are you still consulting with the great PBC?
I am, and it is about to get much, much busier. I haven't really said this before, so you guys are getting a little bit, But, there's a lot of questions about, when's the pace going to pick up and where are the non-pay-per-view shows. And I think we're going to see that in the next couple of weeks. I mean, once we get to...
Some announcements, you mean? Yeah.
Announcements, and then once we get to August, September, October, you're going to see non-pay-per-views and pay-per-views. You're going to see what looks like a more traditional schedule with those mix. So,
are those going to air on Amazon as well?
Those will be on Amazon Prime Video, and we've seen some rumors. I mean, Caleb Plant says he's coming back soon. Stephen Fulton we'll be seeing relatively soon. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go, but there are definitely non-pay-per-view dates coming and a heavier schedule. So those who have been complaining about the pace of things, they're about to get what they want.
Okay, great. This is great news for boxing.
It absolutely is. And, you said it, people are impatient, but it's you got to run before you walk. And I think this is the third event, and things are going well. And and Amazon's very happy with the content. I mean, look at this card, look at the last 2 cards that they've had. They're fantastic cards.
Gloves Off is fantastic. Just wanted to
Thank
throw
you.
that out there.
Yeah, my only criticism is it should be longer because they're great.
Yeah, there's some behind-the-scenes reasons for that.
Okay.
You know, how the sausage is made, but it was, you know, it's a fantastic team.
I love it.
All right,
Yep.
we got. I didn't think we'd have this conversation today, but it did take over the news webs. Reuters, the New York Times.
Yeah.
We've talked to you about, had honest conversations on the air about Saudi Arabia in the past. They're here. They're making an imprint. But the idea of going from here, where we can help you promoters or networks make the biggest fights, to why don't we just make a league? I'm not sure I even saw that coming, and that is the rumor, that is the reporting. Is this great for boxing if all the promoters come together? I can't even, is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean, I guess here's what we're trying to figure out is it in conjunction, is it in keeping with the Ali Act, because that wouldn't really matter, and then 2, on the other part is, obviously people want the biggest fights, and they have been making that. At the same time, it's like getting everyone together, isn't that inherently anti-competitive?
You've said a lot there, and I think they're all valid questions. So first of all, it would be, I'm not one of the people that says boxing is broken. You know, it is not optimized. It is not working as smoothly as it should. It is not taking advantage of the opportunities that it has. So if the Saudis or anybody else has a vision and enthusiasm and money to do something and fix the problems, but the one thing we have to be clear, let's make sure we can fix the problems. So what are the problems? Not getting the fights that we want, promotional rivalries, network, whatever the reasons are.
Inactive big-name fighters.
Not coordination, no, marketing of the sport. Well, we can go on and on. Let's make sure those are addressed. So, because it would be a huge waste of time and a huge disappointment if everyone threw on all this trouble only to come up with a structure which repeated the same things. So, what does that look like? Does it mean buying all the promoters? Then you have no rivalries whatsoever. Does it mean a joint venture where you are partially owning all these different promoters and hopefully influencing what they can do?
I would even like an in-between plan, and I've said this before, where forget about joining one team or one super league, although that is a boxing degenerate fan's dream of mine. I'm one of those. What about the idea of just coming together for 4 majors, like we do in golf, tennis, whatever, where you guys do your own business in the meantime, but these are the 4 dates where we're not going to have egos. We're all going to sit together and make a lot of money and put on the best fights that can carry the sport to the next generation.
It's a little bit like Champions League. If you're familiar with European soccer, it's sort of like the best. The best. It's a structure which doesn't change the underlying fundamentals. Sort of like the best guys are going to get together occasionally and figure out who are the best ones, and the rest of the time everybody carries on their business. So that's a valid structure as well. I think all 3 of those, some sort of minority ownership, buying out, some sort of Champions League. There's a lot of details there, a lot to be done. Look, you can't argue with the Saudis' enthusiasm, their passion, the amount of funding they put into the sport. So let's hope we address the challenges, and we also don't lose the fighter stuff in the meantime. And by fighter stuff, I'm like, let's make sure fighters are continuing to be paid fairly, compensated fairly, that they still have some independence and autonomy and control of their careers. All the things that, are issues in some other combat sports that we speak of, once in a while.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot on the show.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I know you guys never touch on that, but let's try to avoid the pitfalls that we know are there, and let's try to address the problems.
Well, I do think it's different if we're going to do a debate about an MMA monopoly, and I go, okay, well, my biggest issue with an MMA monopoly, despite the fact that we get all the great fights, is that the fighters aren't taken care of where they should be.
Yeah, but we don't get all the great fights. We get most of them.
Most of them.
All of them.
But if there was a boxing monopoly, not that I want that word or I like that, where first and foremost, 2 things were happening. 1, the best fights are being made all the time, so the fans are happy. And 2, the boxers are being treated like heroes, compensated at the wazoo, and then being broadcast to the world in ways they hadn't previously. I don't think that's bad for the sport.
No,
I really don't.
No, that's the ideal. Now, how we get there, I think you can put a bunch of really smart people in a room and come out with 10 different ways. And I think that's where the process is. I mean, the Saudis clearly have a lot of passion and enthusiasm. What is the vision? To the extent that they have one, I'm not sure that it behooves them to tell everybody right now. But those are my questions. It's sort of like, this is exciting, but how is it really going to work? Yeah. And hopefully they've got a lot of smart people who are helping figure this out for the good of the sport.
We need to get you a title within the PBC. What do they call you there?
That guy? A lot of names which shouldn't go over public air.
Let's talk about this, because I'm fired up for this pay-per-view card, and it's a deep card. I even love bringing Royman Villa back, by the way, on the prelims. Love that. But it's special in the sense, especially in this PBC era and also the PBC on Prime Video era, we're getting 2 pay-per-view, I want to say kind of main events, or 2 like attractive fights on the same card, that it almost feels a little bit like a packed UFC card. Is this the future?
I think so. It certainly, has been. If we look at the quality of the first 2 PBC pay-per-views this year, they were stacked. I mean, you guys weren't there, but you saw the very first one where you had that war with Krumel Mutan.
Yes.
In the very first prelim. I think that is emblematic of what's going on. So here, Elijah Garcia in a really tough fight. Royman Villa, on the Amazon Prime. Adames title fight, great fight. Gary Antuanne Russell, his KO streak. David Benavidez is, another KO guy. Tank is another KO guy. It's a really, really solid card. I mean, Tank and Benavidez get the overwhelming attention, but they're in real fights, and there's a real undercard.
Sure.
Give me a sense of how you perceive Tank right now. So we haven't seen him since the Ryan Garcia fight, and obviously he had his time in jail. He's been out,
but he was out last June.
Yeah. It wasn't
which means he's been out of the limelight for a while.
Yeah, and there was the house arrest. It was not. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been just a lot of time away. What have you noticed from him since seeing him back now?
I saw this weird narrative about nervous energy, and I didn't see nervous energy. What I saw, somebody who was very comfortable and just in the moment, a little bit of trash talking, very playful, very funny. His energy was like that all day long, behind the scenes, on the camera. I love it, because if anything, like, there were points where we were like, how is Tank continuing to grow when he's a little bit shy? That wasn't a shy guy at the press conference yesterday.
No.
He's now become the last element of his superstardom is now complete. He's really entering his peak. He's comfortable. He's not shy. He's funny. He's personable. Like, I love this Tank.
What about like the divisions he has with Floyd? I mean, I guess on some level it's inevitable that people are just not always going to get along in the way that you want them to. He still has a good relationship with Leonard, it seems. What do you make of that split?
It's sort of like a child leaving the nest at home, like teenage years, young adult years, and not that I'm not comparing him to Floyd's father, it's Floyd being his father. But as you mature and become your own young man and you leave home, you sometimes, at home, you sort of butt heads as you're forming I think that's the phase they're in. And, it's a shame to see, because they were a good team. Floyd's the first one who really advocated for and co-signed him and certainly introduced Tank to me personally. But that's, it's a shame. I hope they are able to put that behind them. And I think it'd be good for both of them.
Well, Stephen, we could talk to you for a long stretch, but David Benavidez has approached the podium here. So the El Monstro here, but thank you very much for your time, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. Thank you. All right.
You guys slide in over here.
Yeah, you can have that one. There you go.
Appreciate you, Stephen. Thank you. El Monstro is here, David.
Monstro?
I think I'm trying my best to get that flavor.
I'm making fun of him.
Because, I speak gringo. So how should I say it, David Benavidez? You put that.
Yeah, we got to hear you. There it is.
There we go.
With the fresh fade and everything.
Yeah.
I was going to say the best super middleweight in the world just walked in right here, right? But he's going up to
I still am the best super middleweight in the world.
He's going up to 175.
What's your walk around weight, right? If you can.
Like 230, 240.
Jesus.
No, I'm sorry. I'm playing with you. No, like 200 pounds.
200 pounds. Okay.
Okay. I don't want to stress the Canelo topic or pin you down, but I think we got to get through it. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you done carrying and or chasing and or potentially cutting your body to potential to 168 to fight that man? Where are you at in your headspace on that thing that we can't stop talking about?
Well, to be honest with you, I did everything in my power possible to make that fight happen. I beat the fighters that they told me I couldn't beat, and I was #1 contender for the past 3 years. But I had my hands tied. I did everything in my power possible to make it happen. The only reason this fight is not happening because Canelo doesn't want it to happen, because he knows damn well that once he faces me, I'm taking all those titles home with me.
Is there any part of you that's saying, well, he's just trying to raise the price tag? Saudi Arabia is here, and that's changing things.
You know what I mean? I can't keep thinking about what he's doing, what his strategy is. I've done my job. I've done my job perfectly, and I think it will happen. I just don't know when. I think this is too big of a fight to leave on the table like that, and everybody wants to see this fight, and I want to be in this fight included. You know what I mean? I want to show the people I am the best in the world, but I don't know when it's going to happen.
All right, final question for me on this. James Toney sat in that chair and called Canelo a bitch to the camera. You seem to still keep a very business-like level head. You're not out there saying, Canelo, what do I have to do? Piss on your lawn. You're just sort of like, all right, you don't want the smoke? I'm making my own name here. Was there a moment that changed, or was it always sort of the way where it's like, I don't need him to define my career?
Yeah, it's always been like that. Since I was a little kid, I never had that thought in my head like, oh, I want to face Canelo. My main objective is to become the best at whatever weight class I'm in. And I was trying to do that at 168. I was trying to unify the titles, but I didn't get that opportunity, so I came up to 175. Now this fight is going to put me in position to fight for all the titles at 175, and I'm going to continue being dominant force in whatever weight class I'm in.
Who wins when Beterbiev and Bivol finally square off?
I'm leaning more towards Bivol, but I can't say because they're both great fighters, so it's a 50-50 fight.
But you lean Bivol. Tell me why you at least lean that direction.
Because he's a hard puncher and he's a boxer. Meaning he moves around a lot. As you can see, Beterbiev, he had a hard time with Oleksandr Gvozdyk, and Gvozdyk was boxing him, but his punching power is not like Bivol's. So I think for that reason, he's going to have his hands full of Bivol, and that's why I'm leaning towards Bivol.
I got to jump in and ask you something, because there was a man in this chair earlier, Stephen Breadman Edwards, who we love, who said, I'm not breaking any news here. This is knowledge that David Benavidez fought all these light heavyweights in sparring before, and it kind of put it on them, warned them out.
I put it on all of them, on all of them, and they know that too. But I'm not showing no disrespect. They're all great fighters, and I know I have to come 100% prepared for each one of them because all these guys are beasts.
Is there an expiration date in terms of how, you can't make 168 anymore?
No, I can make 168, but for what?
For what? Right.
For what?
Just the opportunity.
Yeah, just the opportunity. I could definitely make 168, but that's why this fight is perfect. It was a perfect time to come up to 175 because I did everything in my power possible to fight for all the belts. But because that's not given to me, now I get to test my skills at 175.
Could I talk about how you developed your style? Because obviously you are extremely effective. You walk people down. And I'm not here to in any way honor the haters that you see online. But one of the things people bring up is you have a squared stance at all times. But it completely works for you.
If you take a look at the square stance, that's an art that not everybody could perfect.
Okay.
Julio Cesar Chavez did it to perfection. That means you're basically ambidextrous.
Yes.
What is it?
Sure.
You use
That's
both
right.
hands.
Yeah,
you could use the lefty stance or you could use the orthodox stance. So if you know how to use it, if you're comfortable, you see me in all my fights, I've used it pretty well. And the people that are complaining about that, because they don't know how to do that.
Did you develop that style despite coaches telling you to stop, or were you encouraged to do that?
My dad never told me to stop. My dad, first of all, we'd work on the jab, opening them up, and then once we get them to the corners, then you start to pick. But boxing is, you have to pull tricks out of your hat, meaning that you have to touch here, you have to touch there, you have to be really unpredictable. And how is it to be the most unpredictable? Change from lefty to righty. And that's what we've been doing our whole career, and it's been working for us a lot. And I feel good and happy that I'm part of the few that could actually do that type of style, because that style does not work for everybody.
All right, we saw members of your team vaping before, and that Luke got all fired up because he's like vapors.
There were some vapors over there.
He's like, vaping is for closers. At this point in your career, when you're making weight, championship weight, could there be nothing? No sugar, no cookies, no nothing? Like, where are you at in that Spartan lifestyle where you can't even let anything in from the outside?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm not going to be that type of person, be like, you can't do this. They're grown men. They can do whatever the heck they want to do. But for me, I take my job serious. Strictly water, no sugar, good protein, fish, chicken, salad, lots of tomatoes, and we try to keep it as clean as possible.
Hey, when did you, it seems like I'm just from the outside looking in, that you and your family fell in love with Miami. When did that happen? How did that happen?
I've always been in love with Miami. Miami is a beautiful place. You guys been?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful.
He loves these thing called BBLs. I don't know if you heard this before. He loves them. I mean, it's great, right? Yeah.
My wife's from South America. He never stops bringing it up. But no, in all seriousness, when did that happen?
I've always visited Miami, and because I have family that lives there, but I just bought a condo out there, and it's just a beautiful place.
It's the capital of Latin America, is it not?
Yeah, and you know what? Miami, when I went out there, I didn't really think I was going to get noticed like that, but people love boxing out there. Everywhere I go, people notice me, and It just feels like there's a lot of opportunity in Miami. I don't know. It just feels like, I don't know. There's just something different. When I went there, Roy Jones went, Rigondeaux went, Andre Durrell, a whole lot of
Mike
fighters
Hoppinger?
went. Yeah,
Ugas?
Mike Hoppinger went.
Ugas is out there?
Ugas is out there. I didn't see him when I was there, but he's out there as well. And yeah, it's just a good environment. And you know, everybody's motivated and everybody's pumped up over there.
So, I will say this though, Miami, very showy. You have to, you know what I mean? Like everyone's got nice cars. Everyone's got like.
He's pretty showy too. He's a
I was gonna
badass.
say,
yeah.
I saw the car. I saw the car in.
How to fit in.
Dude, that car, the one that's metallic looking.
The gold one.
How did you get that?
Well, I bought it from the dealership and then I wrapped it gold.
Oh, that thing is amazing.
Yeah, that's nice.
Wow. All right, I got to ask you about Oleksandr Gvozdyk, your opponent on Saturday. I got a lot of respect for him. He's 37 now, though. 3-0 on this comeback. What is the real challenge that he brings to the table for you on Saturday?
You know, he's a very decorated fighter, decorated amateur, great ex-world champion. His only loss was to Benavidez, but he actually knocked out Adonis Steven, one of the most fierce light heavyweight champions in recent memory. So I'm definitely come 100% prepared for this guy. I know what he could do, but I know his strengths, I know his weaknesses. But this is the challenge that I wanted to take, and I wanted to show everybody that I am the best in the world.
Do you think that this one, any chance this one goes the distance?
No, hell no. I'm gonna knock out Oleksandr Gvozdyk. You can mark my words, and I want to steal the show. You know, what I mean, I know I got stiff competition, and Gervonta Davis and Frank Markin are gonna duke it out, but by the time this event is over, this is going to be the David Benavidez show.
You seem to be one of the more beloved fighters of Turki Al-Sheikh of Saudi Arabia, that he seems to have his favorites, and he mentions you a lot.
Yeah.
Is there a budding friendship and relationship?
He's a great guy. You know, he's shown me a lot of support. He's a great guy, and we definitely, me, Al Heyman, Luis Kubas, we would love to do business with him.
When you think about where you are in, I don't know, 3 years, what does that look like in your mind? What have you accomplished?
Definitely unified world champion, I think, at 168 and 175. You know, when I was a little kid, I thought it was going to be impossible to even win one belt. I got 3 of them now, and now that I know I could accomplish greatness, I'm just reaching for the stars now.
Do you think you can get to that #1 spot? I mean, we got Inoue, we've got Usyk, we've got Crawford kind of in that space now.
Yeah, that's my dream. That's what I envision in my head, and that's exactly what I'm gonna manifest into my life.
Wow.
I can't wait.
I'm feeling the aura, the energy. He's ready, he's dialed in, he's focused. David Benavidez, El Monstro, the monster, is back. Closing comment, though, because Mike Tyson gave you that nickname, and Mike Tyson's going to box Jake Paul. Do you want your friend Mike to do that? I know you want him to cash the check. We all do.
Yeah.
But
it's going to be a nice check, probably.
Is it a bad idea or what?
Mike Tyson's Mike Tyson. You know, if Mike Tyson asking, if you're telling Mike Tyson, Mike, is going to be a bad idea you face Jake Paul, he'll probably slap you.
Yeah. You're
but like at the end of the day, we just want everything to, you know, go right. You know, it's a good fight. Mike Tyson still got the fire in him, but Jake Paul is a tough opponent for him too. So I'm sure it's going to be a good fight.
Big audience on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. David Benavidez, thank you. Best of
Thank
luck
you, sir.
to you on
Nice to see
Saturday.
you. Can't wait for the fight.
Yes, sir.
Always a pleasure to
Thank
chat
you,
with you. Maybe the best 168er in the world, but he's at 175 now.
Yeah, the best one. Yeah.
You know what he just said without saying it?
Yeah, you're a bitch.
Fuck Canelo. Yeah. You know, I think that's what he said. I like Canelo a lot. That's why don't do this to us, Big Red. Don't do this to us, all right?
I don't think he's watching.
You don't think he's watching? Him and O'Teal probably just hanging out together, just watching, right?
Together
Yeah,
at the Sphere.
thinking about planning the set list
shrooms.
for tonight. Boom, 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 boom. Luke, I can't wait to take videos of your face exploding at the Sphere while you know, Mayor rips into one of those. You know, oh yeah, right.
Maybe I'll have a coronary and just collapse there.
All right,
that'd be nice.
Yeah, remember that movie where the soccer team crashed in South America and then they ended up eating each other's ass to stay alive?
They ate a lot more than
yeah,
ass.
I wouldn't do that if I was
What country were they from?
Probably Colombia.
They were not. They were not from Colombia.
Argentina?
They were not from Argentina. No.
You know what I'm upset about? I'm going to bring something from behind the cameras to the front. I considered Martin Bater, the linguist, the translator to the stars, an awesome guest on this panel. And you were like, we're not bringing Martin on as a guest.
I didn't say it quite like that, but yes, I did not necessarily.
That gaucho has more flavor than both of us combined, okay? Okay.
He's not a gaucho. He's a wonderful man.
He is
a phenomenal translator.
A great gentleman.
By the way, the team was a rugby team, and they were from Uruguay.
Uruguay, yes.
Not Uruguay.
Yes,
Uruguay.
they were from the capital
Uruguay.
city of Mountain Video or something.
Mountain Video, yes.
Hey, I want to tell you guys
Video.
about our great partner that we're talking about, and that's DraftKings, right? How about the DraftKings Sportsbook app? How about it? We've got a big-time fight card this weekend, Luke, talking about Tank versus Frank and more. But if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app And if you are a new customer using our promo code MK,
MK,
and
two
you
letters.
put $5 down on anything, Celtics game 4, whatever you want, $5 down, $150 in instant bonus bets.
That's right. I mean, what do you have? Listen.
For you to use.
You're not going to get much better deals anywhere, and this is a phenomenal one. So new customers, 5 down, and you get what is it again?
$150.
bonus
150 in
Yeah.
bonus bets.
I mean, it's just a great way to get in on the action. And again, we mentioned before, it's not just, hey, is Gervonta going to win up or down, or is Frank going to win up or down?
Put a little parlay together.
Parlay actions, all of it. So if you're a new customer, go get that DraftKings Sportsbook app, $5 down. Use the promo code MK. And really let DraftKings do the rest of the work.
Let's talk
from there.
about some latest line shifts from DraftKings regarding the main event, Gervonta Davis versus Frank Martin. Tank opened at minus 575 on the DraftKings Sportsbook, but has since been bet down to minus 700. 7-1 Tank Davis. And Frank Martin opened at plus 400. He is now at plus 475. And get this, Tank to win in round 1. So it'd be a knockout, right? Tank to win in round 1 is the most bet round betting prop by handle and bets. It's the most bet one.
Wow.
So people are really putting their cash down on the idea that not only does Tank get rid of Frank Martin, that he does it in round 1. I mean, look, Frank Martin would have to go out there and mess up and leave himself wide open for that to happen. This is going to be interesting. This is
I don't see that necessarily.
That
seems like a lot.
That seems a bit extreme.
Yeah.
But to recap, we have had a fantastic lineup of guests. Well, only to continue. We had, let me just recap one more time what we just said right there, Drafts. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook app. Let's get $5 for new customers on anything. Using our promo code MK, get $150 in bonus bets. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I've been crowning.
That was very seductive.
All day.
It's very seductive of me. I don't usually share that voice with the general public, all right, or anyone else. No, with my lovely wife. Luke, what was I about to tell you? Oh, well, I was just going to
Probably some racist joke.
Okay, that's unacceptable. Does this shirt make me look like I have moobs? I'm self-conscious.
Hey, it looks like you've been doing push-ups.
I mean, I was lifting in a gym. I was lifting weights, on the regular. Shout out to my trainer, Darren Robinson. He would kick your ass. Right?
That's not saying much, but probably true.
You know what? Who he would also beat? Adrian Yanez with a blindfold on, I think.
I don't know why it's so. I mean, again, if he wasn't blindfolded, it's curtains for me, right?
Dude, even if Adrian Yanez, who I appreciate, is blindfolded, he's going to tap that ass, Luke.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I like my chances a lot more in that case.
Remember when you told me boxing journalist Mark Ortega was here, and I thought you said Brian Ortega, and I was like, yo, let's
I know.
get him.
Then BC pulled his pants down.
Okay,
I'm like, BC, it's not that kind of
that
Ortega.
Is too much. We've had a fun and guest list that's only going to continue. Who's been our best guest so far? I think Breadman.
Breadman's been just constantly full of
Benavidez was great.
Benavidez is, dude, he's fucking
The
laser
Russells.
focused.
Then James Toney was good, man. Oh, stop it. Stop that.
I mean,
he had the balls
he's a little older these days.
He had the balls to call Canelo a bitch, all right? Do you think he wanted more Randy Cooter questions? Because I had him in the holster.
I don't know what he wanted.
Okay, wow, where are you going with that? All right, okay, great.
I'm saying, he's a little older these days.
Some people think the Flint water joke was our high mark so far of this.
Nothing like human trauma for
right.
BC to mind that for.
Yeah, we are of course here at the MGM Grand Media Room Radio Row special here, Morning Combat, and of course we're here. All the smoke fight, Luke. I'm so fired up. So make sure you follow those handles, right?
That's right. Well, it's. Actually, I don't know them off the top of my head.
Yeah, we'll get that information. We'll probably share that.
We should have a graphic for that.
Yeah, I'm sure Maniche can cook that up. What do you think about Brick's performance so far in the camera? You think he's
elite?
You think he's thinking exclusively about naked women and cocaine right now? Or is this not that type of broadcast? All right, yeah. All right.
It tells me you are.
Oh, okay, there you go. There you go. Right, all right. Luke, when we're talking about this Saturday, it's not just boxing this weekend, right? We have Subriel Matias coming back in boxing. All right, we've got a. Would you call it
Liam Paro?
Would you call it a Nubs UFC Fight Night card on Saturday?
The main event is a fun one, and there's a couple of other gems. I don't know if it's the problem with that fight is it's not main event worthy, but it's a fine to actually good fight. Tatsuro Taira. A phenomenal.
Hey, somebody's phone's ringing here. All right, guys.
If you hear someone's phone actually ringing, that means that they're at least 65 years of age.
Wow. That's good work.
Whenever
right
I hear someone's phone ringing, I'm like, this person is either collecting Social Security or a fucking psychopath. No one has a audible
Do you
phone
think Sean
ring.
Strickland's phone is set up like that?
Oh, that's a good
I
question.
could see him having one of those Zach Morris brick phones just for fun with like the big antenna on it.
I don't know about that. I'm just saying, only your grandparents and someone who eats the flesh of their neighbors has an audible phone
What
ring.
percentage of those people are wearing Hoka sneakers? That was a great burn from you that time. Wow. All right, so Luke, for our MMA fans who are just struggling through this, will you have a full UFC Fight Night preview on Friday's Morning Combat, live special, 12 p.m. Pacific time from Las Vegas?
We'll talk about the bigger fights, obviously. But yeah, we'll talk about the UFC card.
Summer blockbusters falling apart.
I want to see, if I may. I know this is live on the air. I want to see if this Conor news has broken yet, if I may.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can. People will just sit around and watch while you're just scrolling. You know
Sorry,
what I mean, it's
just
like
give me a
hanging
sec. I
out.
just wanna see
It's
that.
a normal time hanging out with Luke. You know, not listening, just scrolling.
Yeah. Oh.
Mouth breathing.
Golly, they put up a bunch of these. Here we go.
Oh, look at Luke.
The
They're showing your
UFC is
crotch.
now looking for a new UFC 303 co-main event, as Jamal Hill versus Carlos Ulberg may now also need
who reported that?
Ariel.
No, I don't see it.
Fucking A.
Are you kidding me?
Fucking A.
So to recap on our summer blockbusters, Tyson versus Jake Paul not happening.
Yep.
I don't think Conor's happening at 303. We now know Jamal Hill in the co-main event's not going to save the day like he did to 300. And maybe Khamzat Chimaev's out of his Robert Whittaker fight next weekend in Saudi? Yes.
Yeah.
The debut UFC in Saudi Arabia card.
Yeah.
That is interesting. What did you think about both Steven Espinoza, and we'll have more of this on Friday's MK, but just give me a teaser here. Steven Espinoza and David Benavidez, the way they talked about the breaking news of Saudi Arabia wanting to make a league.
I think I just have more questions than I do answers, and I also think that the takeaway I have from what Steven said is it will really depend on what kind of an arrangement they work out, because the Champions League thing he's talking about, BC, is that what he means there is there is the English Premier League, they play the English teams. There's the Spanish La Liga, they only play Spanish teams. And there's the German League and then the French League, and then the winners or the better teams in these leagues, then they face off against each other, but you can still win your domestic league.
Well, anything becoming a long tournament,
I'm just saying, but I don't look at it that way. What I mean to say is PBC guys will mostly fight PBC guys. Top-ranked guys will mostly fight top-ranked guys. But then, for bigger events, they can square off under the auspices of whatever it is that Saudi Arabia is trying to put together. That seems like something that is a little bit less anti-competitive to me that could be good.
Okay. I have a lot of great follow-up jokes, but
Hey,
I'm trying to
speaking
stay
of Brian
employed.
Ortega, they want him to fight Diego Lopez at UFC 303.
That would be fire.
That's a sick fight.
I think, but isn't Ortega closer to a title shot than people want to realize? Didn't he? He had a big comeback win. Was that Yair he beat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's put a little respect on that. And he got married recently, and he looks really happy.
Yes, he does. I think he's got some kids and everything. So let me see here.
Okay. Manich wants to know if you're interested in Ortega versus Aljo, which would have to. Well, Aljo fights at 45 now, right? And that's where. Okay, so that's where Ortega fights. Yeah, that's kind of perfect, right?
Yes.
That is pretty perfect.
Yes.
There's some muttering in the room, Luke. It's dying down a little bit here. Do you think Manich and how about shout out to De Blasio Communications, Chris De Blasio, formerly of Showtime fame, on the ground with us here for all the smoke fight
he's been helping
in
out
the house. So hopefully he's going to pull over. Yet to come to this chair, Luke. The Ghost Frank Martin scheduled to appear.
We're waiting on Ghost.
Gervonta Tank Davis.
Waiting on Tank.
Jim Lampley. Leonard Ellerby. So what do you think about Tank no showing the grand arrival after tweeting the night before that this promotion sucks? it did happen. We got to bring the news to you.
He
It
said
did
that the
happen,
promotion was ass, and they didn't. But here's the thing.
That was a posting ghost. It's gone
It
now.
was, and the other part too is like the grand arrivals is something you just don't see in MMA at all. It's really just a boxing thing, and it is kind of silly. So I think he actually made more news not showing up than he did showing up. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, right? It's like a Nick Diaz thing. It's like
I don't think
not
it made
showing actually ends up being bigger than showing.
If he didn't show the press conference, that would have been bad.
That would have been bad.
But I will say this: that press conference yesterday was entertaining. For whatever your takeaways are, like Tank performed, and there were times where I was like, is Tank wilding out? Did you see him at the public workout when he dove under the ropes and then was punching Ray Flores in the gut?
Yeah.
It looked like he was jovial, Tank.
Super jovial. I can't tell if he's actually jovial or just nervous.
But then he was mean as shit on Frank. I mean, he's bringing the kitchen sink and try to intimidate Frank. What do you make, Luke, of the smart.
I've been here before you haven't, kind of thing.
And you grew up in the suburbs is a good dig. What do you make of the sparring stuff? So they did spar at the Mayweather gym. Frank Martin, Tank Davis. The reports coming out of Gloves Off and all the interviews seem to be that Frank landed a big shot, Tank countered with a big shot. The gym stood up, and it turned into basically a wrestle mauling fight that everybody had to break up, and that was the end of the sparring session.
I talked to somebody today before we went live who was there watching the whole thing.
Oh, shit, you were investigating. What do you got for him?
Basically you got it right, that there was one moment.
Are you going to be like Ariel and be like, I can't break the news that you're waiting for? You know?
I mean, maybe I'm not supposed to tell this, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But the what I heard, and this is all secondhand information, was that, yes, it is true that Frank Martin landed a pretty good shot, but like Tank had apparently come into that sparring session really out of shape. So that wasn't like they were on even footing anyway. And then as it went on, Tank started to get the better of it and turned into Frank trying to wrestle him the whole time.
Sorry, so, I keep appearing on your screen when I reach down and grab a little drink. You know what I mean?
I'm used to you cutting me off.
That purple drink, that acai shake, that's wonderful.
Drink.
That purple drink right there. All right, wow. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear it. I will say, though, that people always try to be like, well, you can't learn too much from sparring and all that. We learn a lot from sparring. I get that, similar to what you're saying about Tank wasn't in top shape. That's the old Floyd Mayweather story. Remember
Jeff Mayweather
when he sparred Paul Spadafora back in the day, and Paul was a week out from a title fight, and Floyd was in between camps and whatever. And the people that were there, and you can see the video on YouTube, think that that's the only loss of Floyd's career. But when I hear from Breadman that Benavidez tuned up all three of these light heavyweight heroes, like tuned them up in sparring, that makes me believe, Luke, that no matter what the mindset for any of them coming in was, of, oh, this is just sparring, I'm working on shit, when he starts going downhill on you, it becomes a fight. And if the rumors coming out of there was that David Benavidez lit that up, then I'm taking those sparring rumors seriously and what they taught us. I mean, you talk to people sometime who were actually there for Paulie versus Conor.
Yep.
They got a different report than some of the public has heard.
I heard Conor did real well.
Interesting. What do you don't, I mean, doesn't that show you, though, that Tank's not afraid of him? I'm sorry, that Frank Martin's not afraid of Tank at all?
I don't think Frank's afraid at all, no.
What about when he takes the power? Because sometimes guys come in talking a big game, but then they get cracked early, and then it's a different.
The thing with Gervonta's power is how many times, like, he's not an accumulative guy. It's usually like one shot changes everything.
Is he the best counterpuncher in boxing?
He's the most devastating counterpuncher.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Because the fight's over when he lands that one punch he's been waiting for.
It's Armageddon. So that's the other part too about, like, oh well, Frank was doing well in sparring. It's like, dude, lots of guys win rounds against Tank, and then they just lose in the end. Like, that's it. You have to be able to do that in a sustained way, which is really very, very difficult.
Look, we have a legend that's on his way up the stairs to this stage right here.
You sure do.
Yeah, you want to talk about the Hall of Fame. You want to talk about the voice of a generation.
Yep.
You want to talk about my favorite person that ever joined the boxing industry. Wow. Guys, Jim Lampley's here from PPV.com. And, of course, this Saturday, this great pay-per-view PBC on Prime, Jim will be the exclusive viewer chat provider in real time throughout Saturday's Tank Davis versus Frank Martin World Championship on the HD live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's only brought to you by PPV.com.
So. A new medium of communication.
Yes.
When I, finished up working at HBO and eventually went to teach a course at the University of North Carolina, my alma mater, one of the subjects I covered in the course is how the nature of storytelling can be altered by changes in technology, in business, in personnel, et cetera, and that's exactly what PPV.com is, because it's a way of incorporating chat, text, live chat into coverage of the fight. So I sit and watch the fight with Lance Pugmire, Boxing Scene, whom you know, with Dan Canobio from the CompuBox family.
The well-in-shape Chris Algieri sometimes making an appearance,
Chris
too.
Algieri also.
Yes, that man knows an avocado when he sees one, I'll tell you that history. Jim, my favorite thing that you've been doing for PPV.com is that email that comes from Hall of Fame publicist Fred Sternberg right here, who just had a great weekend in Canastota.
I was there.
Oh, yeah, Jim was there, too.
I went up to Canastota,
when you give your prediction, and I've talked to you about this in the past, you were the voice of boxing for a generation, but now we're actively looking at your opinions, the way you can eloquently frame the sport.
Which I didn't do when I was calling fights for HBO.
I know, and it's great to hear. So when we're looking at Tank versus Frank, Gervonta Davis here versus Frank Martin, we have been arguing that this guy, Frank Martin, is much more of a live dog, or maybe I've been arguing, than the bettors want to admit, that seemingly the boxing public want to admit. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think that, Tank has the kind of star profile that people gravitate toward. Tank is a knockout artist with 27 knockouts in 29 fights. People like to see that kind of success continue. I always point out that Tyson losing to Douglas in Tokyo was seen by everybody as this cosmic shock that was the biggest upset in the history of boxing. The fact of the matter was, Mike had gone the distance with Mitch Blood Green. He'd gone the distance with Tony Tucker. He had gone to the last 10 seconds with Jose Rebalta. There was plenty of previous evidence that a taller fighter with a right hand that he brought over the top and certain other style elements might be difficult for Mike Tyson. And Buster was the best athlete of the group. So it wasn't that big a shock, and particularly it wasn't that big a shock with two total novice trainers trying to stop the swelling on Mike's eye with water in a rubber glove.
With a condom, or
whatever it was, So the bottom line is that people fall in love with knockout artists. They want to see the streak continue, and they blind themselves to any possibility that something can go wrong. That's why Frank Martin is the level of underdog that he is in this fight. Now, I think Tank Davis is really good, and I think he's unusual in the sense that he's a selective, highly technical knockout artist. He doesn't come in and rain thunder on you the way a lot of guys do. He's picking his shots. He's lowering his risk. He's finding the moment when he can put you in a vulnerable position. It's a very effective way to box.
Still, Frank Martin, Leonard Ellerby said something yesterday that I thought was quite interesting. He said, in 2017, Frank Martin was getting started, and Gervonta was already a world champion at that point. There is something to be said for having lifelong athleticism at an elite level, and I do think Frank's a good athlete, but he hasn't been a boxing athlete for that long. That difference will show up on Saturday, will it not?
I think it's highly likely that shows up. And the other thing, of course, is the big fight environment. And there's no question that during the news conference here yesterday, Tank was trying to use his background, his experience in the big fight environment to intimidate Frank. Basically say, why do you even think you belong here? This is my kind of thing. I'm the person who belongs here, and I've proven it, and I don't think you do. That was a lot of what he was lathering onto Frank yesterday, and Frank didn't exactly push back in a way that makes you think he's not at all intimidated. He kind of took it in a way that makes you wonder.
Still, nevertheless, what do you make of Frank Martin for a guy who did get started just not that long ago? How commendable is his skill?
Well, he's got a named trainer with an incentive to produce something good and eye-catching after having, seen his fighter stumble against Terrence Crawford last year. He has a legitimate background in the gym, as is evidenced by the fact that he was sparring with Tank Davis at the time when he was. And he's the right style in that he's also a competent counterpuncher who might be able to pick his shots. But at the end of the day, he's an underdog. And he ought to be an underdog. He's going against a guy who's got 27 knockouts in 29 fights and has often looked spectacular doing it.
Jim, I got to ask you about this co-main event, and what I'm most impressed right now with David Benavidez. We just had him in this chair, and it's the way I'm
impressed with everything about David Benavidez. Okay, there's nothing about him that doesn't.
Especially when we find out that he apparently, Breadman Edwards told us he had tuned up Better Bivol and Gvozdyk before in sparring, so he's not afraid about moving up to 175 and chasing this. But it's about that. He could just as easily be sitting here talking only about Canelo Alvarez and playing into these media narratives and waiting on that legend to say he's ready to fight him. But instead, it's like, I don't even need him. If he doesn't want to fight me, I'm going to make my legend right here. The fact that he is now in position to potentially fight the winner of the Undisputed Championship between Better and Bivol means that with or without Canelo, he's going to have his chance to stamp incredible history sooner than later. That's maturity that I didn't know he had early in his career.
Self-possession, poise, maturity, confidence. There's absolutely nothing that David Benavidez lacks on a personality level. And, by the way, he has colossal power. I think his future can conceivably be unlimited. I've said for the past few years that the first forgive me, Andy Ruiz, the first real legitimate Mexican-American heavyweight championship contender can be a historic entity in the history of the sport. David Benavidez can conceivably be that person, and he knows it, and he's tracking it, and we'll see how all this goes.
He certainly has an electric style. What do you expect, though, from his opponent here, who off for 3.5 years, comes back, wins 3 fights, but this is a different fight altogether. What are you anticipating for Gvozdyk?
A technical performance from a technical fighter, a competent performance from a guy who was a noteworthy amateur and has been a competent fighter, and a chance to upset Benavidez's apple cart if David can't bring an explosion the way he normally does. But David brings explosions constantly and repeatedly. I thought, here's how naive I am, I thought with his amateur background, his pedigree, and his defensive style and skills, that Demetrius Andrade might be knockout proof. David Benavidez detonated him. Yeah. I mean, exploded him like a 4th of July firecracker. And I could not believe what I saw. But that was the first time I had been to a David Benavidez fight and got to see that kind of power up close.
And also, the fans love him.
Oh, yeah.
They respond to him. He has them eating out of his palm.
Yeah, if there are Chavez fans that haven't adopted Canelo, they are adopting him, right?
When you listen to him speak, when you watch him in public, when you watch him fight, there's no artifice here, okay? This is real. He is totally the real thing. And that's why I go back to, I developed and attempted to get onto the air 3 different drama series at HBO when I had a producing contract at HBO and was seeking to develop programming for the network, and did put the Fight Game on the air, long-running reality-based on Freddie Roach, etc. I did these things. I developed 3 significant drama series, all of them with great screenwriters, outstanding pilot scripts, and they were all about a Mexican-American heavyweight contender. So I've been tracking this story for years. Here he is, if in fact it happens.
What fight do you want to see most this year? What's the one that you are really looking forward to? Either it's being talked about, hypothetical, something like that.
Benavidez, Canelo.
That works.
Why not? That's what everybody talks about.
It just seems so unlikely at this point, though, right?
It does seem highly unlikely at this point. But you asked me what I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Loosely related to that is the news we've seen this week from Reuters, from the New York Times, sources telling us that the Saudi Arabian boxing invasion, which we've talked to you about the potential of before, now seems to have like a calculated plan, a league bringing people who can't even order dinner together potentially under one roof in a way to save the sport that maybe only Boxing Santa Claus Turkey Al-Sheikh can. Now, if that would happen, and there's a lot of ifs, Jim, would this be the most substantial advancement in the business of boxing that you've ever seen in your time as a fan and journalist?
Or it's complete destruction. It's hard to say. I don't really know for sure what ultimately happens and whether it's all good if one promotional fight-making entity manages to gain functional global control. Didn't Tex Rickard try to do that? Didn't Don King try to do that?
I think the mob tried that for a while in the 50s.
Hasn't this idea been around before? But to do it in that environment seems more possible and has a hint of sinistrality. But I'm not the one to be the judge as to whether this is going to be good or bad. I just don't know whether it's going to happen.
Also, it's just I keep wanting to ask boxing fans this. Show me the monopoly long-term that has worked out well for its customers or fans. Name it. It doesn't exist.
Right. UFC, great for the fans. The monopoly, bad for the fighters.
Yeah.
But if the boxing monopoly is great for the fighters, does that mean we're all in?
I don't know. I don't know what it means. Also, I don't even know if it's in compliance with the Ali Act.
I root for the fighters, okay? Right. I've always rooted for the fighters. They are the fundamental asset of the sport, and they are where everything begins and ends as far as I'm concerned. So, if somebody is talking to me about wanting to achieve functional control of promotion all the way up and down the line, my question is, show me how it benefits the fighters. All the fighters, all the time. That's what I'm interested in.
One of the long talking about topics for boxing fans is who is Al Heyman? Is he a real person? Have you ever met Al Heyman? What is your history of
I've met Al Heyman.
relationship with that gentleman, and what is he like?
I have met Al Heyman. And that's my history of relationship.
All right,
okay?
it was about a handshake, and that's about it. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I've met him, and I've had maybe a conversation or two with him, but there's no relationship. I wouldn't say that. That would be presumptuous of me to say that.
That's me as well. Me as well, right there.
Are you confident about the state of the boxing business? How do you feel about boxing in 2024?
Why would anybody be confident about the state of the boxing business? Okay, I mean, I've been watching this since 1955, and there's never been any reason to think that everything is hunky-dory and we're now in exactly the place where we want to be. I come back to my love for the fighters and my hope that everything works out well for them. I go to a weekend like this past weekend in Canastota, New York, where my friend Fred Sternberg was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
Which really shows you the standards of that.
I mean, they're letting anybody in now.
And I was there with Mickey Ward reminiscing about Arturo, and I was going to dinners with Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales and watching them sit shoulder to shoulder and spend the whole weekend as friends, as buddies, et cetera, et cetera. When I see all that, the world is in good shape. Boxing is where I want it to be.
We always ask you, and I'll never stop being excited about moments like this, you know, the greatest calls, Jim, the greatest this, greatest that. Let me narrow that down and just say the greatest action fight you ever called. That means the most, not biggest moments, not biggest fights, greatest action fight.
That's not possible for me to isolate one because I called the entire Gaddy Ward trilogy. I called the entire Barrera Morales trilogy. Jesus. I called Morales and Manny Pacquiao.
Which is
I could go on and on.
Marquez
and
Pacquiao
on.
1 through 4. You called
every single one. You know, so it's impossible for me to make any of those kinds of definitive statements. I've been too lucky and I've seen too much.
Okay, then let me ask you a real question. When you saw Corrales-Castillo for the first time, which our friend in the business, Al Bernstein,
on another network,
Hall of Famer Steve Albert,
on another network,
they had an incredible call of it.
Arguably the greatest fight of my lifetime.
Was there ever that competitive part of you that's like, damn, I wish I called it. I called every other fight, but I wish I called that too.
Of course I wanted to call that fight. Absolutely. In fact, we were just watching video from it up in Canastota the other night, and it's still the greatest line of corner audio ever. Joe Goosen. Well, you better get inside on him now.
You better fucking get inside on him. I believe was the actual part.
Never been a better piece of corner advice. You better fucking get inside on him now.
Damn right.
Amazing.
That's interesting because it'd be hard to find fights that he hasn't called in that line
that
would reach that great level. But I have to linger on the Marquez-Pacquiao rivalry. If I'm going to say what is the greatest rivalry so far in my boxing fandom, I'm actually going to pick that one. Is there any moments from that four-banger?
Well, there's only one moment. There's one moment that will stand out for everybody, and I say this, not to sound extreme, but because it's real. My wife thought Manny was dead.
Yes.
And she was not the only person in the arena
55
who thought
seconds. It was a 55-second gap in which he did not move. I was supposed to be doing a
planted.
live chat for ESPN.com, and I just stopped typing.
There were many people in the arena who thought Manny was dead.
Including Mitt Romney.
I forgot he was there.
He had the best view of it. Are you prepared to call that when you're in that moment for 55 seconds of what's going to happen next? Because
I don't even remember what I said. I just know that I called it. I have no idea what I said during that period of time. I just remember that I was the blow-by-blow commentator, and it happened.
And they had to show Jinky crying in Bob Arum's arms, and it was just like, this is... Damn, that's also like the greatest fight I've ever seen. It's like seriously separate from maybe Gotti Ward or Corrales-Castillo. That fourth fight with the customer fatigue saying we don't need it ahead of time turned out to be, among the greatest moments and is the framed poster that I have behind me when I'm on camera every time.
PPP.com asked me to pick 5 unforgettable moments from the 100 fight cards here at the MGM Grand, and that was one of the 5 that I picked, of course.
Are there others? I mean, I don't know how much you watch other sports, but Jim, are there other sports commentators that you hear that you like? You really like how good they are? Like their style appeals to you?
Well, I've been watching sports since I was 6 years old, okay? And my father died when I was 5. When I was 6, my mother marched me down a hallway Hendersonville, North Carolina, at a friend's cocktail party, and put me in front of a little TV dinner tray with a tiny television set on the top and said, sit here, you're going to be watching Sugar Ray Robinson versus Bobo Olson for the middleweight championship of the world. This is boxing. This is what you would be watching if your father was still alive. And that was the very first sports event that I ever watched. I wound up working for how many years? I wound up working for 13 years on network television doing football, baseball, basketball, every sport imaginable on Wide World of Sports before I ever touched boxing. I wound up getting assigned to boxing in 1987 by a new division president at ABC Sports who wanted to get rid of me and thought that the best way to do that would be to embarrass me by putting me on a sport where I would never conceivably fit and couldn't possibly do a competent job. And that's
he only knew.
That's how I got sent to do Mike Tyson versus Jesse Ferguson in upstate New York in early 1987. Yeah, that was supposed to erase me, get rid of me, and of course that's the fight in which Tyson obliterated Jesse's nose with an uppercut. There was blood all over the ring. Our expert commentator, who was an executive in the division, Alex Weiler, went into the ring and asked Mike 2 or 3 questions, and the second one was, tell me about the uppercut. And Mike said, Catamara taught me that the purpose of the uppercut is to drive the opponent's nose bone into his brain. I was trying to drive his nose bone into his brain. And I'm standing at ringside thinking, wow, look at what I've stumbled into here. All right? This is aimed at getting rid of me. This kid is not only going to be the number one quote machine in boxing, he's going to be the number one quote machine in sports. And within the next couple of weeks, they all came rolling out. Boxing is a hurt business. Everybody's got a plan until you hit them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that launched, what became 31 years of eventually calling fights at HBO, because I did leave ABC. I did walk away from that contract. And I got into a position where HBO came to me and said, we want you to call our fights.
Wow.
When young, aspiring broadcasters ask you for advice, obviously everyone's situation is going to be different, but is there any kind of universal advice that you share that you find valuable to give?
Stay loose. Something unexpected is about to happen.
So true.
The Polish fans in Madison Square Garden are about to be attacking the African-American fans on the other side. Yes.
Something unexpected is about to happen. You just don't know what it is.
Well, it's funny. I justify my job a lot, I feel like, in public in ways I don't have to, because there's times that this sport is the most ridiculous, absurd, crooked, backward thing ever. I have to love it this much, like the same way you love it, to be able to stay through it. Has there been a chance, and it could be an in-ring death, which I don't know how to deal with either. Has there ever been a time where you almost wanted to take the step out that side door, or is this love affair and this injection?
And this answer will make sense to you. The answer is no. I never ever wanted to walk away from boxing because I was working on HBO.
Yeah.
I was working for the greatest, most prestigious, most artistically successful television network ever. And this was a vital, fundamental part of the programming. I was high status at HBO. I dined with the chairman of the board. And why would I walk away? Yeah. It was one of the greatest existences imaginable.
Well, I'm glad you never did. I'm glad you're back. Jim Lampley, we can catch you at ppv.com this Saturday for this fantastic pay-per-view.
I dined with their chairman of the board, too.
Good. That's great. Jim will be there on the live chat. What a great addition to already a fantastic fight card. Jim Lampley, always going to be a pleasure. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
The
I appreciate it.
Hall of Famer as well.
I like you both.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Feeling
there
is
we go.
mutual.
We got the lamp stamp right there.
There you go.
There it is, the stamp of approval. Thank you so much, Jim.
My
and
privilege.
Fred. And, keep that ring
Thanks,
on
Fred.
for life. Okay.
Hall of Famer.
Indeed, Fred. Thank you so much. The action only continuing. What a great sense of storytelling and incredible ways to put a frame on the things we love about this game.
Yeah, and then we're going to go from one great storyteller to another, it looks like.
Yes, when we're talking about the trainer of the man in the main event, in the marquee position on the poster, Gervonta Tank Davis's mentor, coach, father figure.
Ford.
We're talking about Calvin Ford, of course. By the way, the inspiration for that character of Cuddy in The Wire.
That's right.
Speaking of HBO back in the
I tried
day.
to show my wife The Wire, and she said there was too much. Hey,
there he is, right over
there.
here. Mr. Calvin Ford.
How are you?
I sat with these two guys. I was like this.
Why is that?
Why, yeah, please tell us.
Ryan Garcia, that was after
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yes. In New York. Yeah.
You listen to Tank. You gotta
Speaking to this microphone, there you go.
a major fight. That was a major fight. You know what I'm saying? And everybody been waiting on it. And they talk about the big four. It was T.O., Romo, Garcia, and who was the other one?
It was Teofimo, Tank, Ryan Garcia,
Yeah.
and who was the
Devin?
Devin.
Devin.
And then we added Shakur as a fifth on
Yeah,
there. Right?
he slid in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when Romo lost,
Yes. Well, no, when Teofimo lost to Cambosis,
right?
yeah, the spot
stocks,
opened up. Yeah.
So that's and everybody don't understand how we get here. And then the same thing when I was talking about Martin. Martin slid in too. Get what I'm saying? But the difference is he's here to prepare us for what's to come.
How are you doing, Calvin?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm just being here doing the duties of Javante Davis.
Well, your quote yesterday at the press conference on Wednesday about wanting Frank Martin to be all that he says he is so that button gets pressed so that we see the Tank that we've never seen yet.
That's true.
The most talented, greatest version of Tank. Like, how close have we come to seeing that?
I still ain't see it yet. I'm just being honest with you. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it, and I know his capabilities. I know, and I haven't seen it yet. You know, I seen a glimpse of it with Garcia in D.C.
The Hector Garcia
Yes.
fight.
I seen glimpse, a little piece of it, because they was fine, boy. They was getting at it. You know what I'm saying? He just said, "Oh no, I ain't gonna keep
Garcia
this."
had balls that night.
Yeah, he said, "I ain't gonna keep, but I ain't keeping this up all night."
Well, then he couldn't see. He got blinded, literally blinded.
Like I just said,
He lost
I'm
vision,
not
yeah.
keeping up this all night. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking Martin can hang, and then the two styles, both of them southpaw. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's saying he got footwork. Okay. You know, but he haven't stood in front of Tank yet.
Tank's got footwork, too. That's what everyone forgets. Everyone talks about Tank's power. Fine, he's got it. He's got a lot more than power.
If you watch when he fought Pitbull, you got a chance to see some
He had to
different
move
blips.
all the time.
So-
And Pitbull's tough.
But the real fight was the Pedraza fight.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because he was a young fighter going against an Olympian, undefeated champion.
Southpaw, great boxer.
See what I'm saying?
Has balls.
First time on that scene against a champion to take his belt from him. Great night.
Yeah.
And once he tasted that power, it was a different story
Great night.
altogether.
You know what I'm saying? And nobody know him. He's going to be, if you go back and look at all of it, he's going to be what? He's going to be this, he's going to be that. Not enough experience, not this. You know what I'm saying? So when I sit back and look at it, like, I know why Martin is here, and it's going to be a good, it's going to be, I want it like,
He wants to see the best.
I like the Martin fight because, don't get me wrong, I think Tank is the favorite. Tank should be the favorite. Martin is, from what I can tell, pretty well-rounded.
Yes.
And I like that Tank will have to solve that puzzle, right?
See, I like you already, man.
Yeah. I respect Tank's game, and I just don't
He's
see
a
how,
DC guy. I think that's
That's
probably
right.
why.
You know,
you can feel the aura. You know
we
what I mean?
come from a similar, well, you know, DC's a little bit further down 95 South, but
you understand.
Yeah.
You understand the I-95.
That's right. We both understand BWI.
Yes. Yes.
We
So-
were having a little talk about how you inspired the character of Cuddy in The Wire.
Yes,
And he was
yes.
saying his wife, you can't get your wife
So
into
my
that
wife
show.
English is not her native language, and so
Okay.
I tried to show her the show. She was like, "I have to stop you. I just don't understand
Well,
what anybody in the show was saying."
I think it's the greatest show of all time of its kind. Luke loves it. Jim Lampley has called it the greatest.
Everybody loved it because it was real essence in that.
I've never been able to ask you about that. When you watch it, did you get that same feel? Like, did it nail everything it was trying to nail?
Also, did it feel like Baltimore to you?
Because I knew the characters and I knew what he was doing and I knew the person that was writing. I understood the story and everybody that was involved at some point seen the real truth that he was bringing and how he flipped it and switched it and stuff.
You never knew who was the bad guy. Was it the police? Was it the drug dealers? Like, was it the school system?
That was the whole essence of it because everybody had different roles in that city, and when we had the riots, it exploded from all what was going on, and that's where we at now, you know. So Tank came from out the ashes.
to be on this level.
Let's talk about Tank for just a little bit and how he's been. So since we last saw him against Ryan Garcia, correct me if I'm wrong, he converted to Islam. He did a little time in jail, we all know. But he's been out, and he's been training really hard, and he looks like he's having a good time here. What have you noticed has been the biggest change since the Ryan Garcia fight?
When he accepted Islam was the first one. 'Cause I was laying in the bed chilling, and I've been Muslim for years. And one day he came to me and Kenny and said he was going to get baptized. Me and Kenny said, okay, And so in my mind, I started thinking about other great leaders of God trying to find their Lord. And he was trying to find his peace, to tell you the truth. Listen to his conversation and whatnot. And then when he took a shahada, that means his declaration of faith, and we Muslim there. And I'm going into camp. So my mentality of how I trained him had to change because I'm in the month of Ramadan. But it was so pleasant.
Is he going to commit to a name change? Because it looked like it was going to go
He
that way.
already did, but how would I say it? We're in the mix of working there. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think he'll come back around. If he do, if he don't, if he don't. But at the same time, the main thing is finding his peace.
Well, we've been trying to make a read because this week we've seen him like really happy and almost goofy and fun, diving into the ring for the workouts. But then he's like a bully out there against Frank Martin.
Remember when he was young, we couldn't even get a word out, and I said it. I said it on the podium, and he said, Floyd, talk too much. You get what I'm saying? But he understands Floyd was preparing him for this moment because this is the first building we had our first fight when Floyd was retiring against Roberto. So, it's all coming together.
Yeah, this would be the 100th championship fight night of the
major
MGM Grand's history.
This is so major. So his name is mentioned in history. We just got to have a great performance that night.
So the idea that he might be bullying Frank Martin, or not bullying, but the idea that there's some mental warfare edge in there, does he think Frank can be broken there?
Well, right now he touching. I know what I see is he's testing the water. You know what I'm saying? We talk about things in the gym, and it is warfare, and that's what people forget.
Yeah.
About him watching this, watching that. They forget at the end of the day, we're going to war. And that's what the fans love. For some reason, in human natural, we like that word, war. You know what I'm saying? And we get up for it. And the stuff that Tank doing, it's like, this remind me of Floyd and Conor McGregor when he won that round, he won that round, And it gets you to see. Because at first, I wasn't hearing nothing from Martin. Martin was quiet. Then he was like, I'm going to knock it. I said, boy, he don't know. That motivates him. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But then I listen to Tank talking like, okay, all right, you know what I'm saying? And then he points out certain things from previous fights, what he going to do before he do it. And like I sit there and say, Martin, push them buttons. Please push them buttons. And I think he's going to come out and try, Do
you think we'll see Tank a couple more times this year or maybe just one more time?
I think you'll get to see him again. It's depending what's brewing. You know what I'm saying? Because the storm is coming. We just have to handle this one coming right now in front of us. But, again, I'm just trying to keep him focused on this, what's in front of his plate right now because this a fight.
I will say, with respect to Frank Martin, I do want to talk a little bit about the future. I've been surprised because I didn't hear it for so long. It seemed like Team Tank wasn't really interested in Shakur Stevenson, didn't use his name a lot, was just sort of like, yeah, he's doing his thing. Now I feel like you guys are talking about him regularly and being like, yeah, we'll fight him next if we have to.
How would I sit there and say? It's based – if Shakur probably would have been this fight if his performance looked the way how he looked because he had the red carpet rolled out.
The De Los Santos fight, he kind of jacked it up.
He had the whole world was shut down. He was the only boxing person was active at that time. And you had the racing car people in Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas was lit.
Was that Heisman weekend or was that
something like that?
Or was the first Vegas race?
Yeah.
F1, yes.
Right. So he had the whole platform to himself. And then when you came out with that type of performance, Floyd came out to support him. Everything was built for him to actually, I'm here, And then when that happened, it's like, damn.
Was he hiding an injury? Did he not shine when the moment needed it? Was he scared? What do you think in that? I mean, he's a brilliant fighter.
Me, it was a guy he didn't spar.
Interesting.
You hear what I say?
Yeah.
It was a guy he didn't spar.
Yeah, it wasn't an open book test. He had to, right.
No.
That's interesting.
All right, do you echo what some hardcore fans like this guy right here says, that if I'm trying to fantasy matchmake, and I love fantasy matchmaking, all these young, great fighters, Shakur would probably be the fight I'd want to see the most for Tank, because I'd have to see it, like that different side that came out against Pitbull, I'd have to see a lot more of that side.
But see, I beg the difference, because which Shakur gonna fight? Is we gonna get that boxing technical stay away, get what I'm saying, fight? Because that fight might not be the fight that we're gonna get to see with the fans, because we want to see it. We want to see it. You could say boxing, but at the end of the day, we want to see somebody get hurt. Right or wrong?
Yeah, it's true.
Indeed, yeah.
It's the hurt business.
So let's keep it real. Let's not sugarcoat it. You get what I'm saying? So is that fight worth the fight with fans when they say, yeah? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was campaigning, I want to see Pitbull again.
I didn't used to want to see that, and then he took Rolly to the woodshed, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
he
sure,
sure did.
this is a different guy now.
But again, Pitbull, that guy, he's going to fight.
Yeah.
Yes. He's going to walk
He's
forward.
going to fight. So I already knew that.
Yeah.
To look at Tank and the stuff that we went through in that camp, and he was injured, and how he put on a performance, and we go back and look at it, he said, dang, I see why you like that fight so much. You know what I'm saying? Because we made him a star.
Yeah, I was going to say, people underestimate how much that guy has all of a sudden resonated with the fans. And
Listen.
granted, you know, like, to your point, the Romero performance was great.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We made him a star.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because of the performance in the fight, because it was a fight, and he was taking the fight. So when you look at great fights, and how I was brought up is Tapia and all that, it was fights.
Yeah.
When you left out of, you went out there like, dang, man, they both sides roller coaster up and down. You know what I'm saying? And it was a good fight. And even though who won, who lost, it was a great fight. And it went down in the history books.
Who else are you working with these days besides Tank?
Oh,
For you, as
well, I would I sit there and say, I just worked with Broner, and that was a breath of fresh air.
Adrian Broner.
Man, it was a breath of fresh air. He came to me.
People wouldn't expect you to say breath of fresh air.
He came to me and gave himself to me. But I didn't have enough time. Came to me at 172 pounds. And he gave himself to me. And he didn't come in, I'm Broner, full-time world. He came and gave himself to me. And the barn.
Yeah.
It was good.
And it was, what was it? It was time. He said, yo, you sound like Mike. I said, me and Mike do
Mike
the same
Stafford,
work. Yeah.
his late
we do
trainer, yeah.
We do the same work. Like he used to do his little run. I said, don't run your run, run my runs. He said, your runs mentally mess you up. And he came out there and did an excellent job. You know, when he came to the corner, he felt on his arm, fractured his shoulder, and had a bruised elbow.
I saw he lost some teeth, too.
Yes, he did.
Tough.
Yes, he did. That was the crazy part. But at the end of the day, man, when I told him them last 2 rounds, man, you could see it. So that said a lot to me, and he was professional.
And by the
about
way, to give AB respect, even though his loss to Maidana brought everybody out on Twitter back in 2013 to celebrate,
Yeah.
he was the one backing Maidana up in the later rounds who was
the same.
So
Yeah.
we don't question the dog, but here's what's interesting. When he loses to Blair Cobbs, Adrian Broner, a lot of boxing people are like, oh, good, we're done with him.
No.
The response from AB to say, now I've rewoken, now I'm not taking this for granted, I was shocked by that. So was that
the communication?
Yeah. The result of the relationship between you two seemed to really show there.
He got something to give. Trust me.
Wow.
Do you think we'll see him again this year? I mean, he's got some recovery.
Well,
to do.
right now, I want him to rehab that shoulder.
Yeah.
And I gave him a weight class that I want him to be at.
Okay.
And I told him, I'm going to pop up on you, man.
Where does he call home these days?
I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure that out.
Okay.
But he's coming into himself. And I told him everything that happened to a past was a reason why it happened, because we got young fighters that's coming behind you. And you're going to be that voice to talk them through it.
Well, I know there's a side of AB that we don't see because Tank only speaks about Broner with full respect as a key part of his
a G
as a guy that was a legitimate mentor to him. And you would say that's crazy. AB's always in trouble. What's going
Man,
on?
you should see even the kids that I got with me today around AB, because he being himself. They say, man, AB is, you know, when you look at us on TV and fighting and whatnot, you don't get to see the real essence. And man, I'm just so amazed with him.
That's beautiful, Calvin. I appreciate that.
That's
wow.
great.
I love that. We're hearing so many great things. I mean, James Toney sat in this chair and said, Canelo, you a bitch. And I was like, whoa, whoa. I want to ask you that, though, because we, want fighters to do what we want and be, businessmen, but also warriors and be about the honor. Is Canelo right when he says, look, guys, I've done everything you said. I fought everybody you said, and there's always going to be another guy, so it's about time I do something for me and do things my way.
Well,
Is that okay?
I can't argue with him because he was the last one that fought the GOAT, Floyd. And he's still on the top of his game.
Sure.
When he asked for $200 million, I wasn't mad with him. Know why? Because if they got money to burn and they really want to see that fight, make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not mad that he called for it. I guess my only point is if you got the belts, you got to defend them.
I mean, of course, I'm not going to argue that because that's what we do.
Right.
Get what I'm saying? But again, he's trying to do it on his terms. And you got to respect that because at the end of the day, when I watch Ugas and Pacquiao go through that fight they had, get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They had to eat out of straws and stuff.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, that ring is serious.
Hey, can I ask you just a question? With the bridge collapse in Baltimore, that was a terrible event.
Oh, yes.
What's the vibe in Baltimore like these days?
I haven't been there since it happened because guess what? I had just left.
Wow.
And I sit there and say, man, that's a bridge we go over to go, get some work.
They just cleared the debris out 2 days ago. They just finished 2 days ago clearing that out.
And when I seen it, I'm working out and I'm looking. Then I seen our governor, and I said, wait a minute, why our governor talking about somebody? And I said, yo, that's at home.
Yeah, man.
It was scary.
Super scary.
Scary because cars go back and forth over there. It's
yeah.
And so now it's
All right, Calvin, in light of you always being so real with us and showing us the emotional relationship with Broner, and we know that you've been a father figure mentor for Tank, when you see former Tank opponent Ryan Garcia having the calendar year that he just had in the last year, which has the highs of the Haney upset, but has a lot of still question marks of what's real, what's not. Is the kid okay? I know right now his mom is battling illness with cancer, and what do you feel about the kid inside of there? Not the fighter, not the social media guy.
Like I said, to all fighters, everybody's life is different, but this day and era is different. Like we had Toney here. Toney is that.
Yeah.
That's where we come from. But now the difference of fighters that we got, I call them microwave babies. You get what I'm saying? Put it in the oven, it's done. He really going through something because all fighters, and I say this to my partner Kenny, I said, yo, it seems like all the best fighters, something going on with them. Something physically going on with them. You get what I'm saying? Because that's how they wired, actually. And when I look at Tank, his piece is inside that ring.
Wow.
And that's how some of the great fighters are. Their piece is inside that ring because I don't know if their DNAs have a certain built with them of being that warrior. So again, how would I sit there and say, it's all we can do is pray for him, be there for him if he open up for us, and help him get through it.
Fair enough, man.
Did you respect that performance against Haney and the way he shocked the
Man,
world?
I'm the first one that told him, or told the world on my podcast, the Rise podcast, that he was going to beat him.
Wow.
And people kept asking, and everybody knew it. I kept saying, why? Because I seen something in a corner of a coach going against your guy versus another guy, and I said, he ain't going to beat him.
Well, I was surprised, but I don't know
I wasn't.
No?
The hook was his money.
I know, but he was acting so crazy.
That was the fake out. You got to remember, go back and look at our fights. When we was going through and stuff we was saying, Tank did it to Martin. They did it to Martin to see where Martin was really at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know, but I don't see Tank in the club on fight week. And Ryan was in the club on fight week.
I never thought Haney would not be able to pick up that punch consistently.
That might have been his way of fighting his demons.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, I think it was, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when he went out there to fight, you see the performance?
Well, can we be honest? Is a fighter better when I used to say this about Pacquiao, when he converted to the Lord and gave up gambling and womanizing, he kind of changed to a certain degree. Tank's been in and out of trouble. I hope that he's got it back online. But for a fighter to be great, does it have to be around them at all times?
Again, everybody keep their warriors. they true warriors inside of us.
Yeah.
It's true beasts inside of us. That can snap on anybody. You know what I'm saying? It could be your kid and she in danger or he in danger. You're gonna break because you're trying to be that protector. And that's their way of calming it.
That's interesting. Wow. Calvin Ford, this was deep. This was emotional. This was everything I want out of an interview with you, sir. Best of luck to you guys on
Thank
Saturday.
you. I appreciate
Can't
it.
wait. Can't wait.
We have so much respect for what you bring to the sport. And
Well, I'm just one of them guys that deal with a lot of inner city kids that's trying to find their hope, and we trying to be there for them.
Well, keep doing it.
Keep
Thank
doing
you.
it.
You're
Thank
doing
you.
great work.
Enjoy.
Like
Thank
that.
you, Calvin.
Thank you so
Ford.
much, Calvin.
Thank you.
A
There
true
he is.
pleasure.
All right. There he is.
One of the true men in this game, and we appreciate that. Wow, this thing is getting great, right?
Yeah.
See, I mean, again, I thought James Toney's line was going to be the highlight, and that's now not even top.
It's the highlight for you, I
I
can
don't
see.
even think it's top 7 right now, although that Flint joke is holding up high in the power rankings. I mean, to recap, guys, tonight at the Sphere in Las Vegas, the OK bet is finally going to get paid off when Luke Thomas, John
fuck my
Mayer,
life.
Bob Weir, Oteil Burbridge, me, right, and a couple other,
All right,
and a couple hippies.
We need to have a little bit of a heart-to-heart here. Manich, are they going to bring Frank Martin and/or Tank Davis? No, we're not.
Oh,
tomorrow.
Oh, interesting.
They're not in the building.
Okay, so to update
I'm
the
glad we
fans,
promoted them being on.
we will not be getting
I know.
Tank Davis and Frank Martin. Unfortunately, the
By the way,
schedules
can the
clash.
audience hear you or not? They cannot hear you. Okay. I would love for them to
Yeah,
hear
we
you,
would actually like if you can become a playable character in this universe. Long Island Luke style.
I'm in.
Oh,
I'm in the mix.
Manich. Hey, Manich is from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which
Here we
is he hates when I do government names, which is the meth capital of the Northeast.
Yeah, it's.
I think.
That entire city is just a van down by the river.
Wow.
It's more heroin than meth.
Okay, to be fair, I did enjoy when I went to Showbox there. a
Look,
few
it's all
times, you know?
fentanyl laced. It doesn't really.
Oh, all right. Hey, Manish, how's it going for you on the 1s and 2s over there?
It's going great.
Do you have a favorite interview so far, or you not really paying attention?
Breadman and
Breadman,
Benavidez.
yeah.
Benavidez.
Dude,
But that Calvin's
Calvin's
was
good,
awesome.
yeah.
Oh
I
my
almost
God.
cried 3 times. Yeah.
Benavidez looks fucking dialed in. Does
He's
he
like
not?
he clearly is the most. Every fight he's been the most confident, but
Yeah.
this is the most confident I've ever seen.
And
The plant fight was ugly.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
We had some heart-wrenching moments from Jim Lampley to the Russells. I mean,
The Russells was cool.
Don't tell
Yeah.
anybody though. Jim cries a lot.
Jim does cry a lot, but I love that man. So thank you, Lamps. All right. Wow, Manich. Manich, what do you think about Brick's performance so far?
Brick's been killing it, man.
Yeah.
He's dropping 3 cameras up here.
Damn right he is. Yeah, big Brick fan over here. Luke, are we going to get anybody else? Or what do you think here?
I have to take a shit.
I think we're about done, guys. It's kind of
How long have we been doing
emptied
this
out.
for?
Almost 3
Manich?
hours. Almost.
two and a half.
All right, well, let's close with
over
this.
2.5.
Let's close by updating our life schedule. So Luke and I are going to be at the Sphere tonight,
Let me see if there's any more.
unless
breaking
this
news.
text pulls you out of it.
I wonder if
Luke,
there's any more, I
you
see
know
if
what
there's
I
any
mean?
more breaking news.
Tomorrow, which is Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific time, Morning Kombat is back with a live special. We're not just going to continue to preview and give our picks for the PBC on Prime Video pay-per-view that this show has been built about. We're going to look at UFC Fight Night, latest on Conor McGregor in UFC 303. Jamal Hill out, Hamzat out. I don't even know. There's a lot to get into, and we will do that tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific time, and also special guest Steven Jackson of All the Smoke and All the Smoke Fight is going to be joining us as well in person at the Wynn.
That's right. Tomorrow, again, 3 p.m. in the East, noon Pacific. We'll have all UFC previews. We'll talk about this fight as well. Stack will be there. And then we're actually going to come back here after that.
Yes, we're going to shoot one more piece of
kind of
business.
like media day thing
If
here.
we get any more interviews, I think Jorge Masvidal is going to be here.
Jorge
tomorrow.
should be here, but hopefully we'll get
All
Frank and Tank.
Kai Kameka III is going to bring his chest tattoo.
Kai Kamaka.
I
not
talked to
Kameka.
Kamaka about that. Isn't he a big Nixick guy?
He is. Also, he has, I think I've said this before, he might have the best tattoos in MMA. Like,
We'd have to talk to him
it's
about
possible.
that. So I want to thank everybody for joining us, everybody on staff here. Luke, this is my favorite thing. I mean, I love Room Service Diaries. I love High Court. I love all the bullshit we do. But this, the rapid fire, in and out, we're the best in the business at what this is, okay? We are, Luke, the champions.
Campeones.
And we'll keep on fighting.
Till the end.
Till the end, just like Freddie Mercury.
Well,
I didn't mean it like the way you thought. It's probably a good time to wrap it up. Download the DraftKings.
Between jokes of Flint water and dying of AIDS, I think Brian's been on fire.
All right,
here.
Luke, you didn't get out to use the bathroom at all.
Yeah, could you tell the
You
people?
really-
Can
you
you
really
just tell the
stressed me
people,
out with
please?
that.
Can you tell the people the truth about this? Can you please?
So my doctor put me on medication for something, and it is causing my anus to explode.
So before the show started, and I respected you, I said I wasn't going to out you. You were like, I may have to. No, because I have exited to piss during live morning combat.
That's true. You've done it a number of times.
I don't think you heard, but he came over to me and he was like, I might have to like run out of here multiple times.
So what I did was I literally,
fine,
5 minutes before the show, I chewed like 15 Pepto-Bismol tablets, and it worked.
Yes.
It worked.
Yes. Wow. That would have been something. I would not have disrespected you if you had left.
Do you want me to fly the Pepto-Bismol lower?
I wish we could run that picture I took of you in Starbucks this morning.
It's the worst picture ever.
Luke was mouth breathing.
I had no posture.
Yeah.
Belly's hanging out. Looked like a piece of
Our
shit.
producer, Matt Snyder, tried to get it on the show.
No,
Maybe
don't
tomorrow.
do that. Don't
Maybe
do that.
tomorrow.
No, won't do that to me.
Okay.
Don't do that to me.
So, Luke, we're going to go to the Sphere tonight. We're going to see Dead and Company. How long will you last at this show? I want to hear every note.
All right, so from the first – no, hold on, let me ask this. Is there an opener?
No, there's 2 sets, and
There's 2 fucking sets?
They take a set break. So, like the jam bands like Fish, they do a set break at the end.
Okay.
And then then there's like a mini encore at the end.
I'm gonna try and give it an hour.
Will you make the second set?
No, I mean, there's no fucking way. No. There's no fucking way. I mean, I'm not – I mean, it's the worst music ever, so no.
Will you be doing enough substances to speak to aliens beforehand?
I'm hopeful that I can ruin your night because you have to rush me to the ER to get my stomach.
We've done that before. Remember Bellator weekend?
That's true, but that was because I was in poor health.
But I don't want you
I have to shit, Brian.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up for Brick and Manich and Paige. And how about that guy in sound? Was it Seth?
Seth, yeah.
Seth, yeah. He's a decent guy, right?
Yeah. He told me he's sympathetic to ISIS, and I was like, I don't know if you should be admitting that.
All right. We have enjoyed this a lot. We'll see you tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on the Morning Combat YouTube channel. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Remember, if you put MK, our code in there for new customers, a $5 bet this weekend will give you $150 in bonus bets. Enjoy it. And Luke will have more tomorrow on the launch of All the Smoke Fight, the new Combat Sports vertical.
Yes, indeed.
We are joining forces. We are ready. We're fired up. We're going to bang each shoulder.
Bye.